make of some of the narrative from some who are hopeful, optimistic, bullish that there is an exit ramp and it can be used in these talks in which Ukraine would sort of forswear some form of NATO membership. Would that be enough? I wonder if you think there's if that's folly or if that's worth paying attention to.
Well, you want to hang on to any hopes you have. I mean, it's a very difficult situation. All these comments about war crimes and war criminal trials, well, we really can't get close to the negotiating table with those kinds of charges going on. So that makes things difficult. I think you saw the market and the oil price ease a little bit when there were supposedly overtures for humanitarian ceasefires today. They turned out not to really hold up too well, and that's why we're starting to back off here.
Good morning, those joining.
There's a report that we can't send top flight U.S. fighter.
You guys ready to lose some money today?
Because there's nobody to train the pilots, but they can fly Russian MiGs, and there's supposedly a potential swap going on in which Poland would send some of their existing MiGs from when they were in the Warsaw Pact to the Ukraine. If that were to happen, that's going to hype things, and the markets will get very volatile then to see how Putin reacts, because if the Ukrainians have air power, some of these things like that 40-mile armored tank group it would be vulnerable. So the game's not over. We cross our fingers. You can see this morning the market reacts hopefully to any overtures of ceasefires, but people don't believe it. The James Bond division of Wall Street thinks that Putin's got a 4 to 6 week pressure point on him, and then the weather changes enough to make the soil.
What do you guys think? He's talking about the actual war right now. I'm mostly concerned about what's going to happen to our oil price and how it's going to affect our whole economy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I care about the war between Russia and Ukraine as well. But right now, I need to be making some money. Shorting nickel. I don't know about that, Christopher Dominguez. I was actually looking at nickel today. What is it? JNN. I think, no, that's not the right one. JJN. One of these is the nickel index. All right, so it's down today. But if you look at the nickel index year to date, it's like double since March. March 1st to March 8th. Things doubled. Almost. So yeah, this is not something I want to short right now. I might be looking at jumping in on, let's go to TradingView. Where are we at? Yep. My air just kicked on at the house. Let me know if the sound is no good. I'm looking at DBB right now. So this is all the industrial metals in one. It looks like it's come down a little bit today. So this could be a good buying opportunity here. Jump in on DB Base Metals Fund. We get a handful of them. Handful of metals right here, all in one shot. Technicals all indicate a buy. Or increase them pretty dramatically. We have to zoom in a little bit to really see the effects here. But you see, since February, we're already up. I guess not all that much. But I think metals still have a long way to go. And then we've got oil. No need to make it complicated. U.S. oil fund. There. I mean, anybody who saw this coming, mid-February, made a killing right now off of this. And then we've got the whole defense industry, too. I'm more SPHD, according to John Warhol. Personally, I'm with him. I'm looking at picking up some shares. I want SPHD or SCHD. People always go back and forth between these two, which one's better or not. But this has held up really well. Dividend stocks, value stocks, these are the ones that are holding up well right now. Not my tech growth funds. Yeah, Russia, I think, is going to send up oil prices further. So I'd be looking at right now going long USO for the short-term play. I don't see any reason to think that oil prices are coming back down. So there's a good opportunity here. If you want value, we can look at ET, energy transfer. It's going to go up a lot slower, but this is one level down from the just trading oil prices. Energy Transfer owns the gas and oil pipelines in the United States, like 50% of them. So as long as oil is in demand, this will do well. What do we got going on in the comments? Russia's threatening higher oil prices. Yeah, I can see it. They're probably going to... I mean, right now we're talking about actually cutting... Let's see if we can find a video on here. I bet you Russia oil will give us something. All right, let's check this one out a little bit. This is from overnight. Realities of a Russia oil gas ban, according to the Mehdi Hassan. So let's see what he has to say. I'm interested in this. Because if we really do stop taking their oil...
The States and its allies have implemented a number of options outside of direct military engagement to make sure that Russia faces consequences for its invasion. The U.S. and the EU, along with a number of non-EU countries like Japan and notably Switzerland, have quickly imposed economic sanctions. These sanctions include freezing foreign assets and prohibiting transactions with Russia's central bank. The impact has definitely hit Russia hard. For example, the ruble is now worth less than a penny, dropping more than 30% because of Western sanctions.
The ruble is worth 5% of a Dogecoin.
Shows no sign of pulling back his invasion of Ukraine. One obvious option still left on the table is sanctions on Russian oil and gas. According to Reuters, in 2021,
it's going to hurt Europe a lot more than us.
Oil and natural gas accounted for 36% of the country's total budget. Any hit to that revenue would have an enormous impact on an already damaged Russian economy. Last week, the White House seemed hesitant to embrace sanctions on Russian oil imports because of the wider economic impact they might have.
Yeah.
But now there are bipartisan calls from Congress for a ban on U.S. imports of Russian oil as Russian shelling continues to devastate residential areas in Ukraine. On Sunday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the White House was discussing with European allies ways to coordinate a wider ban on Russian oil imports. And earlier today on MSNBC, the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democrat Mark Warner, said he expected a United States ban imminently.
How quickly do you think
it's only
we are going to see
1% of our
action
imports
from the Biden administration if it ultimately assesses that the U.S. does have to go it alone? Could it happen in the next 24 hours?
I think it could happen in the next 24, 36 hours.
The problem is that the global energy supply is already tight. Any restrictions on Russian exports would mean higher prices around the world, and markets are already bracing for a possible ban. Just today, as the sanctions became more likely, the price of oil briefly jumped to $130 a barrel. The average gas price in the U.S. climbed to over $4, a 14-year high. And the Dow dropped almost 800 points on Monday. So the question is then, what would it mean for the global economy to strike?
Like what I want to add to what they're talking about is if the United States alone bans oil, we have to keep in mind that's only 3% of our imported oil. We get like 50-something% from Canada, a bunch from the rest of the world. Russia's only 3%. So if we ban oil, I don't think it's going to do that much. What it is going to do is if the rest of Europe starts banning Russian oil. I don't think they can do that. I especially think Germany can't do that. They get about half their oil from Russia. But if Europe stops importing Russian oil, Russia's going to be in serious trouble. But now so is the whole global economy because we're not getting enough oil anymore. So I don't think us doing it by ourselves is anything more than a symbolic move. We can easily make up that additional 3% from Canada. But if Europe gets on board with this ban, and if China, I don't think China's going to, but if Europe gets on board with that ban, now we're talking about some serious damage.
At the core of the Russian economy. Joining me now, Kayla Tausche, senior White House correspondent for CNBC. Kayla, it's looking like a very real possibility that the United States will implement these bans without our European allies joining in. About 40% of the EU's gas comes from Russia. Germany's chancellor came out today saying that the country would not be able to ban imports due to its dependence on Russian energy. Is the Biden administration prepared to move forward But are they also worried at the same time that going alone will not have the intended effect on Russia? Well, they're in between a rock and a hard place, Katie. The Biden administration, according to my sources, is very much ready to go it alone, and that they are not pressuring the European Union behind the scenes to join in that fight. They understand that at this point, despite all of their best efforts to bolster energy supply in Europe, that there's simply still too much dependence. There's a contingency plan underway to reduce Europe's reliance on Russian energy by about 80% by the end of this year, but they're not there yet, and they're not even close to being there yet. What's more is that it can't be done on a country-by-country basis in Europe. If there's going to be any blocking of Russian oil and gas within Europe, it must be done by the entirety of the 27-country bloc. So, for instance, France or Spain can't decide that they will block Russian oil, while Germany decides that it wants to keep one of the main pipelines bringing gas and oil into its country open and still flowing. So they are in a very difficult position here. But just because the U.S. made this week announce this as a standalone effort doesn't mean that other countries won't be joining in. I'm told that the discussion is still live as to whether the United Kingdom and Japan will do something similar. And of course, there is still a discussion underway with other countries that produce a lot of oil and gas, like Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran, about shoring up their output and getting that shipped around the world. Katie.
So a good point they bring up here. There's a lot of countries that can fill the gap in oil if the infrastructure for it exists. So I don't think Iran is actually drilling that much oil, but you know the Saudis have to be salivating right now at the chance of $135 a barrel. I mean, they've got to be loving the opportunity to start producing more oil, especially if the Russians get cut out. That's just more market for them. So the Saudis are going to fill this gap, I have no doubt. I don't really know what Iran has going on. They have a long way to go before they can recover from all the damage that the sanctions put on them. So I don't know if they actually have the ability to drill that much more oil. And Venezuelan oil, if I'm not mistaken, that's that whole industry is pretty screwed up right now, and they don't exactly produce that light sweet crude that you get out of the Saudis. So Venezuela, I don't know if they can fill that gap the same way that the Saudis can, or definitely not the Canadians. But that's where I'd be looking right now. We need a Habibi over there. What's his name? Abdul bin Salman or Mohammed bin Salman, one of them, to start drilling some more oil for us out of Saudi Arabia. I mean, the U.S. only gets 1% of its oil. Only 1% of the oil refined in the U.S. is from Russia. So it's not going to make a big difference to us. We produce almost all of the oil that we need. We actually export a shit ton of oil, and then we import another ton of oil, because it's not the United States government deciding who imports and who exports. All right, there's private companies in the United States that drill their oil, and then they send it overseas, and then other companies pull the oil into the United States to go be resold. It's probably not the most efficient market. It's a very efficient market-wise. It's probably not the most efficient on our resources. But I don't think we need Russian oil at all. I think Europe does. But I know the Saudis and the Canadians are probably going to fill any gap that we create. What the Europeans need, I don't know if it's as easy to fill that gap in demand, because I don't think Canadian oil can get to Europe as easily as Russian oil can. And I don't think the Saudis can do that either. So I think the whole infrastructure for fossil fuels into Europe is coming out of Russia. So if they were to cut that pipeline off, then all of a sudden we need a whole new infrastructure to start getting oil to supply Europe.
Yeah, so Kayla, I think a lot of people need to know, though, the United States, in terms of oil imports, the most we get is actually from Canada. I think I read somewhere it was like 61% is actually from Canada. The next is something around Mexico at 10%. I have it here. Saudi Arabia, 6%. And then Russia comes in at 3%.
There's 3% of our total imports.
That this type of ban is going to have an impact on Russia if we're only doing 3%.
I want to hear those numbers one more time. I'm backing that up.
3% around Mexico at 10%.
Mexico,
I have it here.
10.
Saudi Arabia, 6%. And then Russia comes in at 3%. So does the White House
Canada's more than half of our imports.
That this type of ban is going to have an impact on Russia if we're only doing 3% imports into the United States from Russia?
Good
well,
question.
There is a degree of this that is symbolic, that also prevents any future activity, but provides sort of a chilling effect on global business activity. You've already seen companies like Shell that have decided to purchase some of that Russian oil come under just real PR nightmares for doing so. You've had other companies like Valero in the U.S. say that they're not going to be doing business with Russia. There's already been this chilling effect in the market with a lot of these big multinational companies, whether they're trying to service the U.S. or otherwise, saying that they're going to be standing off. Banks are stopping the financing of transactions involving Russian oil and gas, shipments of cargoes of Russian oil and gas. Some cargo ships are saying they won't load the cargo onto the ship because they're worried that they could get, 3 days into that journey and there could be a policy decision that comes down that blocks that activity from taking place. So I think the U.S. is suggesting that, yes, it is a very small portion of the overall energy in this country, but they're doing what they can to block that from coming in and hoping that there is a ripple effect insofar as a lot of these companies won't be doing this other business because there might be some sort of, crossover transaction that would touch an American transaction, and they'll stop doing those too. You mentioned a few minutes ago, Kayla, about this idea of PR nightmares. One of the solutions to limiting the supply of Russian oil and gas in the market is to get others to put more in. There have been reports that the...
Yeah, quick pause. Can somebody corroborate Apex 698 here? Biden's supposed to be on in an hour? If that's true, we're going to flip over to him pretty soon.
White House is trying a number of things, including leveraging Saudi Arabia to produce more and revisiting existing sanctions with Venezuela and Iran. Does the White House actually think that these efforts will be fruitful? Because is it worth it for us to be doing business with countries like Venezuela and Saudi Arabia, for example, that have known human rights violations? Yeah, and that question was put to the White House press secretary today, Katie, in nearly exactly those terms, why the White House and why the United States is doing business with those countries with the issues that you just mentioned. The White House has been very clear that they're part of very complicated multi-pronged negotiations, but one does have to wonder if it provides undue leverage to countries like Iran, who know that the U.S. and the Western allies are in need of a new supply of oil, if they know that there might be a more willing participant to come back into the nuclear deal on their terms. That is something that certainly American negotiators are aware of and are wary of. So, you have to wonder how these countries are viewing that. But certainly the U.S. is perhaps ironically going outside its own borders to find energy, even at a time when, for the last decade plus, there was all this talk about America being energy independent, producing, scores and scores more of oil and gas here at home than had been produced before. But of course, energy is a global market, and without those global partners, everyone is behind here. Kayla, we're going to keep on watching to see what's going to happen. So many more questions, so little time. Thank you so much for being with us, Kayla Tausche.
All right, so it sounds like Biden is going to be talking today, although he's not going to be talking about oil or the war in Ukraine. He's going to be talking about the crypto executive order. I read what they've already put out on the crypto executive order. It basically says that they're going to form committees to do investigations on how to manage crypto. So I don't think we should expect anything really hard-hitting right now, but we do want to see what he has to say. All of what she's talking about right now, is the U.S., we already produce pretty much as much oil as we need at home. If we stopped exporting, we'd probably already have enough, and we could fill that gap with other countries that aren't committing human rights violations, like Canada. Sounds like Mexico is also on that list. I didn't know that we get a lot of oil from Mexico, but I guess we do. Who else? Norway. But by and large, find me a country that exports oil and is not violating human rights right now. You've got the Saudis. We know what they look like. Iran, Venezuela. Who are the other big ones in OPEC? Jordan, maybe. I think. Yeah. Who else is producing the oil out there? It's a lot of those Middle Eastern countries that are kicking out most of the oil. Iraq, I think Syria a little bit. Middle Eastern countries where we don't exactly see eye to eye when it comes to human rights. We've got Russia providing most of EU's supply that are now actively attacking Ukraine. So where are we getting our oil from that is a benevolent country? The US, Canada, I guess Mexico, we can add to that list. I think the Nordic countries, the ones that are drilling at sea, that's probably where we're going to be getting our oil from. But the infrastructure isn't there. We can't supply Canadian oil to fill the demand for Europe or Japan. I don't even know where Japan gets a lot of its oil from. China? Russia? It's going to be ugly if we try to do that. I think Australia probably produced some. Kuwait, yeah, of course, Kuwait. How could I forget Kuwait? Yeah, and then you've got some of the countries down in the right between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. They produce a lot of oil too. A lot of it's drilled at sea, I believe. Somebody said North Korea. Yeah, I don't think so. But this is all Qatar. Yeah, how could I forget Qatar and Kuwait? I'm a little embarrassed that I forgot about those. UAE, yes, absolutely. Netherlands. China imports from Russia. So, all right, it sounds like Russia is extremely important to the global energy sector. Even if it's not important to the United States, global energy supply, Russia counts. So if there was a wide ban on Russian oil, that would be devastating to Russia. It would definitely jack up prices. But we still need to make sure that people are getting all the oil they need. And for that, we still need Russia. So, all right, what else we got? Let's see some more here. Let's check the market. You know, there's been a lot of talk about the United States being energy independent. I think we were energy independent for like a month during the 2020 crash when everybody was locked down. It's not because our supply was so high of oil. Our supply has been pretty stable since about 2018. It was that demand was so low because everybody was locked down. That's why we were energy independent. So I don't buy into the argument that we need to turn our oil switches back on. There's not a lot of evidence that they've even been turned off. In fact, we're producing as much oil now as we were here. Let's go look at the oil production. Like if we actually look at what the United States is producing, can you guys see this okay? Like we're producing more oil now than we ever have before. It's been pretty stable other than this like big bump in 2019 and then dump for the COVID crash, but we're still recovering from that COVID drop. But it's not like we stopped producing oil in the United States. This is probably enough to actually supply ourselves, but we export a lot of it too. So that means we need to make up for it with imports. That's how our market works. I don't think commodity-wise we're in any trouble. I think price-wise is where we're in trouble. And just because the prices are going up, there are going to be countries that are producing more oil. So I think global supply will increase and it'll help dampen some of this price increase. But we're going to have a lot of countries that aren't getting all the oil that they need anymore if they switch off Russia. Like here's our numbers. Like, you know, in 2021, we're producing the same amount of oil that we were in 2018 by month. So I think we'll be okay. We're not producing enough oil for ourselves. Well, let's see what we got in the market here. So the NASDAQ down a little bit. S&P is actually up. Dow is up. VIX dropping today. I'm a little bit surprised. You know why volatility is dropping and markets are flat? Is because I was strongly considering going in puts. And just the fact that I considered buying puts means that the market will not drop. I think it's about time we get some kind of relief rally. Let's throw on some indicators on here. Let's see. Let's I don't use this website all that often, so bear with me. I don't want moving averages. Is this the 9-day moving average? I really need to commit to finding some time to look at how this actually... Alright, fuck it, we'll look at the 9-day moving average because I don't know how to use this website. No. The market is clearly a short right now. And we've got this very clear head and shoulders pattern here. I mean, where's the bottom? Who knows, man? But we've got room. We've still got room. This is the S&P. We've still got room to drop on the S&P, I think. I mean, I want to get the I want to get some more moving averages on here. We look at the Oh, here we go. All right, let's look at the 200-day moving average. And then let's add another one. Now let's look at the 50-day. All right, so the 50-day. All right, we're looking at a 50 by 200 death cross showing up soon on the S&P. So once we start seeing that indicator blaring, then there's going to be a lot of people that just want to get out because you're going to have algorithmic trading that's saying, hey, we've got a death cross. It's time to sell. We're going to have headlines saying that we just had the first death cross since 2020. it's time to sell. So we're going to have algorithmic trading dumping. We're going to have retail traders dumping once this death cross happens. So I don't think we are hitting the bottom yet. But even these downtrends, they have these violent relief rallies. And we should be seeing one of those relatively soon. Maybe we'll drop a little bit more to 22, or 21. And then we'll see some relief. Once we start rallying again, I'm going to be taking a serious look at getting on some puts. Every time the market has risen like this, on these green candles, we start getting back toward these moving averages, all of a sudden the market dumps again. And every time I've considered actually getting puts and haven't done it yet. So what I'm going to do is once we start looking at these 4,100 numbers, I'm expecting some relief rally. We recover from it. I'm going to take on a put. The fact that I'm buying puts probably means that the market is dropping, or is not dropping. It's going to recover at that point. So that's what I anticipate. We're going to drop a little bit more. If we look at NASDAQ, we've already had our death cross. We had our death cross right here. And you see what happened right after that. The market started dumping again because we're seeing headlines of a death cross. Algorithmic trading is starting to call for more declines. I mean, the NASDAQ is already down about 20%. I mean, our next support is probably around here, about 1,300. Yeah, I don't know where the bottom is, guys. But I am buying on the way down. I'll tell you what I am picking up is I'm picking up stocks like this. Nice dividend-bearing, low beta ETFs. Throughout the year, while everything else has been dropping, we've had these value plays, the dividend ETFs, still either rising or staying flat while paying out their dividend. So that's why I'm looking to pick up more of this. I know a lot of people like SCHD as well. But SPHD, SCHD, who cares? It's pretty much the same thing. So I jump on board with that. All right, let's see what we got going on in the comments here. Kyle wants to know, what price will my gas pump? Hey, you guys want an app that can save you money on gasoline? I'll put it in here. I save about 20 cents a gallon on gasoline. It's not available in every state, but most states have it. Let me know in the comments you want that. I'll drop the link here. Prajwal H. Lamba says, Mikey, do you think of doing short straddles and going directional by option selling using that sweet IV crush? So what I've been doing is not selling straddles, but selling strangles. So I've opened up right now on SPY. I'm making a video on this right now. It's pretty much ready to publish. But I have a 400 by I think 450 strangle right now. So as long as the stock stays between 400 and 450, I'll be able to take my max profit. I'm going to look to take profit at 50%. So if IV decreases, the stock comes back up just a little bit, I should be in really good shape to take profit off. 400 would be like a 50. That would be pretty darn close to a 52-week low. So I think I'm probably safe. I would call 400 as the bottom. I mean, look, we've seen some support there before. Not a lot, a little bit. But I don't think we're reverting all the way back to 2019 prices. I think that's just ridiculous. But I've got a 400 by 450 strangle that I'm really optimistic about. All right, y'all want that link? Okay, Joey wants it. All right, so I'm gonna have to actually copy it down. But the app is called Get Upside. You use it, you pump your gasoline. It saves you about 20 cents a gallon. The first time it saves you like 50 cents a gallon, so it's really good. But I'm not sharing it without my referral though. I'm trying to get if you use a referral, you get a little extra money on it. Andrew Perez wants to know, if SPHD drops, what is a fair price to get it at? So let's look at SPHD. I think SPHD is probably one of the safer picks right now. But, I mean, take your pick about where it's a good price to buy. I think it's going to hover around these 40 to 45 price for a long time. I mean, this is a dividend ETF. It's not really designed to have huge growth. It will grow with the market over the long term. But we get these dividends here, these 14-cent dividends every month. That's going to keep the price down because it's paying about 4% a year. Oh, Undivine, thank you, Undivine Knight. Here's the money gun. First super chat of the day. Thank you, Undivine. That's why I stream. It's people like that helping me out. But as far as the question about when to buy SPHD, go ahead and just grab SPHD whenever you feel like it. My very first move, if I were a brand new investor, would be buy shares of SPHD until I have 100 of them. That would be my pick. But let me get my referral here to Get Upside. I'm just going to have to type it in. I'll have to email it to myself or something. But when gasoline prices get really high like that, you do whatever you can to save a couple cents. So what I actually do to save on gas is I use this app first, save about 20 cents, and then I'll scan my receipt, saves another 5 cents or so. But let me pull that up real quick. We'll get you guys. What are your there has to be somebody in here who's like long oil from January or something like that. Like there's got to be. And I'm dying to know who is. I know there's somebody there. Hang out just a minute for the free money. Yeah, hang out just a minute. I'll get you guys that referral link to it because I want to get you guys on Get Upside too. But I gotta wait for it to come through my email for my referral link so I can drop it here. It's probably something stupid simple too. We'll just give it a sec. Praj Wallace says Wall Street Bets is thinking of catching oil on top and shorting it. That would be pretty impressive. I don't think we've hit the top yet on oil. What is it? Maxar Resource Technologies. Some of you guys are talking about this one. So I actually had a job offer from Maxar back here when the stock price was $4. And they said, do you want to come work for us? I was like, no. What the hell would I want to do that for? You're a penny stock right now. Their satellite had fallen out of the sky right here and then went into this decline until it was down to a penny stock when they offered me a job. And I was like, nah, I don't think so, man. If I had gotten on board with that, I know I would have participated in their employee share program. That would have been big money. But we can't dwell on the past like that. Austin Collins, thank you very much for the super chat. Money gun. He says he ran the wheel a bit to help pay for a trip to Florida. Big ups to your videos. Show me how it's done. Yes, the wheel strategy, I still love it. I still run the wheel. Even though I do a lot more strategies now, not just the wheel, that's still my bread and butter. So congratulations on getting all that cash. All right, here it is. I'm going to drop the link to my, this is called Get Upside. You save like 40 cents a gallon. I'll pin it. Yeah, there you go. The first time you save like 40 cents a gallon. After that, it drops to like 20. But it's still, I mean, with gas prices like these, it's worth it. So what I want right now is I want RSX, the Russia ETF, to start trading again. Because I shorted it like right, what was it, like here? I shorted it when it was around $20. I bought a put. And then when it dropped down to 17, I covered. So I closed it. And then I shorted it again. I bought a put when it was around $10 at the $5 strike. So before it got halted, let's zoom in a little bit more. So I bought a put here, sold it here, I bought a put here, and now it's still open. Now I was up like 300% on it, but then all of a sudden, RSX gets halted for being too volatile. Now I don't know what happens to put contracts while the stock is halted forever. Like how long is this thing going to stay halted for? And if it does stay halted for a long time until my expiration, does that mean that it's just useless? Like I lose all my money on my put? Because that just sounds ridiculous. Some people on Reddit were talking about if your stock stays halted for too long and your options expire, then they'll stay active. The options will be extended until one day after it opens again. That at least gives people a chance to get out. If that's the case, I hope I'll be all right. But I don't know if in one day RSX is going to drop below $5 where I need it to go. But I'd be a little bit upset if I lose out on all the money I made buying this put if it stays halted and doesn't reopen until my expiration date. It's April 14th. But I know there's got to be somebody out there who, at this death cross, shorted RSX. Because they'd be printing right now. Brahm says, rumor is that they open tomorrow. I hope so. Yeah, I hope it reopens. Secondhand Sampler says he thinks oil is going to 180. My God, if it goes up to 180, where do we have like a good just oil futures? I don't know how to pull up oil futures on here. But if we were to go up to 180, I mean, we'd be looking at USO at You know, well over $100, $120, $130. Somebody's saying that my theta is... You guys talking to me about theta being low? Yeah, that's fine. My theta is low. I bought the thing. I want theta to be low. RSX is dissolved? I don't know about that. Fanatic Dave. Can somebody corroborate that RSX is dissolved? Can't spell dissolved. Oil futures is /CL. Why am I getting like multiple options here? Alright, do the front month. I don't give a shit, whatever. Here, the April contracts. Crude oil futures. Give me the April contracts, crude oil. Okay. So, not quite $130 a barrel, but I think we're getting there. Like, anybody who looks at this chart and is like, oh yeah, that's we hit the top. It's going to come back down any minute now. I don't think that's the case. I don't think there's really any argument there. It looks like the NASDAQ is dropping again. Yeah, all the markets are starting to crash again. There's just no bullish catalysts right now. We need either the war to end or the Fed to give us some kind of surprise. We don't use theta in the big leagues. I don't know what Joey here thinks he's talking about. He doesn't use theta when he trades options. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. You know, most of us like to look at theta when we trade options. But let's look at these war stocks. I mean, I think there's probably still room in the war stocks too. Like if you buy Lockheed Martin, then I think there's some room up here because we're looking at Europe remilitarizing. And Lockheed Martin, what did they invent? The Tomahawk? There's going to be people buying some of this equipment. Ivy's killing gains. Russian stocks will be zero when their market opens. Russian oil stocks like Gazprom are 99% on the London stock market. I think that 99% drop is mostly due to like some kind of technicality on the contracts. I don't think it's actually that Gazprom is no longer a profitable company. What else we got? Yeah. Alright, so Lockheed makes javelins, yeah. There you go. See, a lot of people are saying that everything is already priced in. Like, we have already priced in the fact that Europe is going to be buying more equipment. I don't know. I mean, there's still some uncertainty there about how much and when. Who are they going to buy it from? Are they going to produce indigenous or are they going to buy from the United States? That's all still uncertain. So once that certainty becomes clear, that they are in fact going to be buying a ton of javelins from Lockheed Martin and a whole bunch of other equipment, then that certainty is going to drive the price up further. Like, everything that's known is priced in, but there's still some gaps in how much information we know. Like, when is the war in Ukraine going to end? 3 weeks from now? 6 months from now? Longer? We don't know. So we can't price in the end of the war yet. Raytheon, yeah. Tanks and stuff. This is all good stuff. Now let's check out what's going on over in live markets. Let's check out. Oh.
It's bombing. As bombs continue to fall, this woman with a message for the
No, this is not the market. That's not what I want to say.
What you have, enjoy peace. It's really valuable. Don't take for granted what you have now.
Yeah, I know. This isn't market either. All these titles are lies. All right. Hacker group anonymous declares cyber war on Putin. That sounds fun. All right, let's watch Bloomberg because we know it's going to be stock stuff.
He hated seeing his fellow countrymen.
Does that concern you?
Well, actually, retention has been very good. If you mentioned the senior leaders. If you look at the first to the
Like our own metrics, like
What the hell are we watching?
and so we definitely
growing sphere of influence in the Asia Pacific.
There we go.
And in particular, he warned
Good question.
the United States
Will the
about,
attack on
the
Ukraine
Quad
encourage
and
China
the bloc
to
that
take
they say
Taiwan?
is trying, that Beijing feels is trying to create another NATO for the Asia Pacific. And Wang Yi said, and I will quote him exactly, he said, if Washington and Taipei expand their ties, not only would this push Taiwan into a precarious situation, but will also bring an unbearable consequence for the United States. So yes, the rhetoric is being ratcheted up, but from my vantage point here in Hong Kong, I'm not necessarily seeing what's happening in Russia and Ukraine translating to the Strait, Taiwan Strait, at this moment.
Stephen, thank you very much, Stephen Engel.
A lot of people are expecting now that since the United States and the rest of the world basically took a pretty light stance militarily against Russia taking on Ukraine, we countered it with sanctions and things like that, but not a whole lot of military assistance. People are expecting, all right, China will now be encouraged to go and take Taiwan. I think Taiwan is close to 50% of the entire world's supply of semiconductor manufacturing, and especially all of the high-end semiconductor manufacturing, like those 4 millimeter or nanometer, 6 nanometer, the really good stuff that you need for a lot of the advanced equipment. That's all done in Taiwan. You've got like mainland China still working with 20 nanometer stuff. So right now, if China were to attack Taiwan and that production would stop, the supply chain crunch we'd see across the entire world would be immense. And I think that's one of the primary reasons why China isn't taking a very aggressive stance against Taiwan. But I think it's coming eventually. What the U.S. is doing right now is trying to produce more chips at home. So we're looking at companies setting up, I think it's Intel is going to try to make an advanced manufactory in Ohio or somewhere around the Great Lakes area. We have a whole bunch pending in Arizona. I want to see that get developed as soon as possible. And I've got shares of LRCX in preparation for that. They make the chips, or they make the machines that make the chips everyone else needs. But if you look at LRCX right now, it's probably down again today. Yeah, it's down to 486. I mean, I think LRCX right now is in like deep value territory. Like this is a buy price. The company is almost twice as big as it was in like early 2020, and its price is not reflecting that. Not right now. So I look at LRCX and this dump as like this is value right here. Big future ahead of it. They're raising their dividend. We've got earnings coming up. I think that'll be telling us April 21st. Estimate 758. Now, if we look at like 2020, it's going to be a lot less. So earnings, all right, about $4. And now the earnings we're expecting about 750 versus in mid 2020, 4. So the price of the stock is not reflecting the reality that the earnings has doubled. So I think LRCX definitely is screaming buy right here. I already have enough. I have over 100 shares. So I'm just holding what I got. But I think there's a lot of room for this to come back up. I don't have any plans on selling until we reach $1,000.
In Hong Kong, let's get the first word. Headlines from around the world. Back to Singapore, Juliet has the flow.
Manas, the UAE's addition to a financial regulator's so-called grey list shouldn't significantly hinder the economy. This according to S&P Global Ratings. This after the Paris-based Financial Action Task Force added it to a list of countries subject to greater monitoring, citing the UAE's shortcomings in tackling illicit finance. S&P, however, warned that additional checks could raise the cost of foreign funding and make transactions more onerous. Hong Kong is reportedly considering a drastic shift to its COVID-19 strategy, with the city's death rate now the highest in the world. According to local media, the government will focus on cutting the number of deaths as its top priority, instead of making plans for mass testing of the entire city. Hong Kong's 7-day rolling average for deaths rose to 27 per million people this week, with 25,000 new cases and 161 deaths reported on Monday. Well, a new study warns even a mild case of COVID-19 can damage the brain and affect thinking. Researchers found COVID-linked brain damage months after infection, including in the region linked to smell.
That explains why my portfolio started sucking right after I got COVID.
To as much as a decade of normal aging. The results published in the journal Nature linked the changes to cognitive declines. Exit polls predict that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party will retain power in India's most politically crucial state. At least 8 polls said Modi's BJP would win a majority in the 403-seat Uttar Pradesh Assembly after the latest round of voting ended on Monday. However, the BJP's victory margin is
How is this guy still in power?
5 years ago, when it won nearly 80% of the seats. Global News 24 hours a day.
Why is Modi so popular?
On Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120.
No, let's get.
It's a kind of very strong appreciation. I mean, gold have done
All right, here's the
fantastically well.
futures.
Can it go higher? Yes, it can. I mean, within equities, if you are kind of long-only investor and you have to invest in equities, things like
that it's likely that we'll see
There we
action
go.
soon. The president
Russian oil
actually
again.
doesn't even need Congress to take action here. President Biden has the authority to ban Russian imports on his own. This legislation would, in addition to the ban, include other things such as requiring the USTR, the U.S. Trade Representative, to try to get Russia suspended from the World Trade Organization. So it's likely that this will pass, and President Biden will probably sign it. So unclear how quickly that'll happen, but
Interesting.
could be very fast.
All right. We are actually going to ban Russian
Thank you
oil.
very much. That's Bloomberg's Bruce Einhorn. Manus, we're about to go to Juliet for Asia markets, but we have to talk about what nickel is doing right now, just surpassing 98,000, now trading around 97,000. Manus, this is a doubling of the price in nickel in one day, and it is hitting 100,000. We're at 101,000. I can't even keep up with these moves, Manus.
Okay. We've got to pause for
That is so
just
crazy.
a moment and reflect on this. We're going to bring Jules into this conversation about where we are with markets, because when you see a market go from 80,000 to 101,000 in the space of 7.5 minutes, okay? Let's just talk about this for a moment. This is 7.5 minutes you've managed to put on $21,000 in a marketplace. We need to be very careful and understand the ramifications. This is not about volume. We need to understand the volumes that have traded through here. We need to understand whether this is a gross exaggeration in terms of the bid and offer spreads between these two products. But either way, this is a squeeze, and a heck of a squeeze. But there are lots of details that we need before we understand the scale and the size of this move. Jules is standing by. Juliet, this is going to have ramifications across the world. Let's talk to Jules. Bring her in. Juliet, this is going to have a major impact in terms of risk assessment across the world.
Yeah, absolutely, Manus. We've already been watching that in the Asian session, particularly with the likes of EV battery makers. You think of BYD and a number of those South Korean players that have been hit really hard. We'd already been seeing the impact flowing through into the metals space too. But as you say, this is an extraordinary move that has happened in less than 10 minutes. We also can't forget as well the impact of these rising oil prices and the impact they are having to a number of these oil importing countries here in Asia. You've got the likes of Thailand, which has just opened up its borders. Its Prime Minister is going to hold a meeting tomorrow to discuss the impact of this on consumers. How fragile is this going to be to consumer sentiment when you've got these surging oil prices? That is flowing through into quite a lot of the movement in the currency market we're watching as well. You're seeing some upside in the offshore yuan. It is rising the most in a week. Is this a safe haven amidst this? And you've seen a bit of a rebound coming through from the rupee on that oil shock yesterday, which hit a record.
I think this market, this bear market that we're seeing, is probably where a lot of us are going to get tested in terms of knowing what our real risk tolerance is. A lot of people overestimate their risk tolerance. I overestimate my risk tolerance. I'm doing better at it than I used to. But you'll find that a lot of those people who were really all in, like the ARK Ks, and said, hey, I believe in growth, speculative growth stocks. These are going to be the ones that are successful. These companies are going to lead the future. That's easy to say when your stock is rising. It's easy to say that I'd be willing to stomach the big losses in exchange for the long-term growth. That's easy to say when things are rising. When things are dropping, you find out that your risk tolerance isn't really as high as you thought it was. I mean, we're looking at back to spring 2020 prices on ARK K, which holds a lot of those high price to earning ratio names. Like Coinbase, like I'm super bullish on Coinbase, and that's very easy to say when the stock is rising, and it really hasn't done a whole lot of that. But now that the thing is tanking, I'm like, maybe I really did screw this one up. I mean, the price to earnings ratio on this thing is 12. I mean, I think that's absurdly low company's making, it deserves a lot more money, or it deserves a lot higher share price than what it has. But is my risk tolerance going to allow me to hold this thing down to a 50% loss and still not really showing any signs of rising again? A lot of us are going to get our risk tolerance tested. I think the best way to protect yourself against making bad decisions when it's dropping like that is get yourself some protection. So I'm looking at QQQX. I already own some shares of this. I want to pick up more. It's still down a little bit. It's going to drop with the market. But we're looking at a 7% dividend here on a model that's designed to grow with the market. It's going to follow the NASDAQ, but it's also going to pay 7% dividend along the way. So QQQX, I think right now is a really good buy. Once my taxes are done and I have my money freed up again, I'm going to start buying more shares of QQX. QYLD, not as much. A lot of people, I've talked about QYLD before. This used to be my preferred one over QQX. It pays monthly, so it's great for income. It pays about 11 or 12% right now, but it's not designed to grow the way that QQX is. It's designed to decay. So even though the stock price has gone down, I mean, it's paying a 12% dividend every year since 2014. You've made money if you bought it at IPO. But I don't think this has the long-term growth potential that I need in my 30s. I'm 31 right now. So I'm looking at QQX as a much better option. You've also got a couple other ones. I think it's Goff, Guggenheim, Strategic Opportunities Fund. Same type of deal. It's generally a fixed income asset, but it's designed to not drop. It's designed to stay pretty stable. And I don't know what I think it's paying about a 10% dividend right now if you were to buy. 11.6%. So this is a really good fixed income fund. The goal here isn't necessarily to make money. You don't want to see growth out of your fixed income assets. You want to see stability of the dividend payouts. And you want the stock to not be dropping. Because this now provides you with some protection during these times when we have a bear market. QYLG, Colton Husk brings that up. QYLG, this is 50-50. So here's the way this works. Like you've got QQQ. All right, this is the base NASDAQ ETF, right? So if you hold QQQ, you're long the NASDAQ. All right, you can go with QQQX. Or let's start with QYLD. So we all know about the covered call strategy. What QYLD does is it buys the NASDAQ, sells at the money covered calls on it the last day before expiration, buys it back, distributes all of the earnings to the shareholders. So it is a 100% covered call ETF. All right, well, that's kind of high. You don't necessarily want to be selling at the money covered calls every month after month. You're never going to really make big money. You're going to get a lot of income, but you're never going to have the growth that you need. So another alternative, QYLG, this takes the same concept, but instead of selling covered calls on all of its holdings, it sells covered calls on half its holdings and holds the other half naked. So this is like owning shares of QQQ and then selling covered calls on another set of QQQ. So you get 50-50 between income and growth. That's why, you'll see it rise and then it's just dropping right along with the NASDAQ. All right, another with QQX. So this is more actively managed. The fund manager decides, are we going to sell covered calls on 30%, somewhere in between, or up to 70% of our holdings? So they always hold at least 30% of just the ETF without selling covered calls on it, but they always sell covered calls on at least 30% of their holdings. The fund manager decides based on market conditions, volatility, what he expects, what his staff expects. So it's a much more actively managed fund. I don't have to manage it myself. I've got somebody else doing it for me, but I'm always going to get some income, but it's designed to have some growth too. Not like QYLD where it just pays income and you don't get any growth from it. And I think there was one more that I wanted to look at too. And then TQQQ. So this one uses options to go in the complete opposite direction. It holds like call options, uses leverage in order to 3x what the NASDAQ is doing. So if you want to go in the complete opposite direction, you don't want any dividend, you just want as much growth as you can get, you can use TQQQ. I bought TQQQ like between 70 and 80. And obviously it's looking like shit right now. So what I did was I sold it. I sold the shares for a loss and then sold in the money puts. That way I can get the loss on my tax deduction, but I still basically have a long position. So I still think TQQQ is going to do very well in the long term. When you zoom out a little bit, these drops, these suck, but they happen. We went from 20 to 7 or 28 to did it go down that to like 3? 28 to 8 during the COVID crash, and it was up again by the summer. So this fund does have the ability to recover pretty quickly from these downtrends. But buying up here, yeah, that sucked, man. It was the wrong choice. I've been selling covered calls on it, so I've made some money back. But I don't know where I'm going to start looking to add more. I'm probably not going to add more to TQQQ right now, because if I do so, I'd be busting my risk tolerance. So, all right, somebody wants to check out IWM. This Dome wants to check out IWM. This is the Russell ETF. It's the smaller companies. Looks like it's been doing a lot better than QQQ, at least. Maybe not. You know, it has a death cross on it. And you can see that since that death cross has gone down a little bit further. Not as much as I would have expected, though. So it's actually holding up pretty well. Yeah, we should consider, so Colton Husk is bringing it up, there's expense ratios on all these things. QILD, QQQX, they all have an expense ratio of like 1/2 of 1%. So it's not as though you're going to have to pay the fund manager from your own funds. That money, that 1/2 of 1% annualized fee, that gets deducted right from the price of the stock. So, and not at one shot either. Like you wouldn't even notice that it's happening. It's just stifling the growth a little bit. But in exchange for paying that 1/2 of 1%, you don't have to actively trade QQQ yourself. You don't have to wheel it and start and pay commissions. You don't have to worry about, you know, oh, after I wheeled it, now I can't afford 500 shares. Now I can only afford 497. So I can't sell 5 puts. I can only sell 4. Like you don't have to worry about all that. The fund they've got all that covered for you. In exchange to get 1/2 of 1%, you just take that out of the dividend. It's not a big deal. You wouldn't even notice that it's happening. Once you start looking at funds that are charging more than 1%, all right, now that's a lot to ask. But 1/2 of 1%, I don't even care. It barely even makes a difference. All right, Joey, with strong opinions, is bullish on Zim. I don't really know much about Zim. What is Zim? Integrated shipping services? Yeah, they're doing great. Look at them. And their dividend is 14%. Is that possible? What are we looking at here, Joey? Tell me more. It's a pretty new company. It's only a year old. But whoever bought into this thing at IPO is absolutely crushing it right now. I'd be interested in knowing what the stock actually is, because it is in a dandy uptrend. The 50 above the 200. It's making higher highs and higher lows. And it's paying at 12%. That's crazy. What's it earning? This thing estimates $13 earnings. Jeez. Yeah, Zim is doing great. I might even pick up some Zim. Good stuff. All right. Duncan Dave says, Zim is, he says, you buying options on TQQQ and SQQQ? Do they deteriorate like a stock does? No, I'm not buying. I'm selling options on TQQQ. I don't buy them. The volatility and the theta are so high on those things that you get IV crushed, you get theta crushed pretty hard. Or how do I turn on dark mode on this? You guys are asking for dark mode. I don't use this website very often, so I don't know how to flip on dark mode. Dark mode. There we go. All right, y'all like dark mode better? We'll do dark mode. I know it's still pretty early on the West Coast. Yeah, so I use drips, Colton. I use drips on all my holdings. I think I'm going to stop doing that soon, though, because I'm actually using Dividend to pay for stuff. So I'm probably going to flip off the drips on some of the fixed income assets and just take the cash. Now that I don't have a job, that's what I plan on getting some of my money from. What else we got over here? You want to look at Info Systems. Okay. I think I just clicked on. There, let's try that again. All right, $23. Looks like it's been pretty stagnant. I don't know anything about what this stock does. I mean, it looks like it's in a good long-term uptrend, though. Somebody did all right with this. So got VYM, good for growth and stable. I know that ticker. What is VYM? That's just a REIT fund, right? Or high dividend. So this is probably very similar to SPHD. Dividend oriented but low volatility ETF. So it's probably super similar to SCHD, SPHD, and all that. XOP options are ridiculous. I don't know what XOP is. Uranium energy. Interesting. I think where Europe really screwed up is that they didn't make enough nuclear power plants. They shut them down in Germany, didn't they? Like the new models of nuclear power plants, they're not like a Chernobyl or Fukushima risk anymore. But now that Germany has turned off some, I don't know, can they recommission their nuclear power plants? I don't know. But the fact that they tried to flip to renewables without having the nuclear behind them puts them in a vulnerable position for things like this now, where we're looking at not being able to import Russian oil anymore. You need oil for a lot more than just gasoline. It would probably have been helpful to Germany if they kept all their nuclear reactors in place. I know France is probably doing all right because they have nuclear reactors. But Germany flipped them all off. I think that was a mistake. Nash Mashende asks, why did I get fired? I stole my boss's car. I borrowed it. But I got fired as a result. So, oil, I don't know. What is oil doing? I don't even want to look at the markets overall right now. I really don't even want to. But it's like too depressing to look at. Because there's just this sustained downtrend. My dog is joining us down here. There's this sustained downtrend across the markets right now. And I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we have a death cross. We have a head and shoulders pattern. We're screaming short. It's just, where is the bottom? Because we're not going all the way back to 10,000 on the NASDAQ. There's no way. But how far down are we going? 11,000? 12,000? I don't know. I'm buying on my way down, though. I'll say that. Do I like pancakes? Yeah, they're all right. So here's what I'm doing when I... yeah, let me pull up. This is my plan for crypto right now. So I'm got about... What do I have here? I have about $30 some odd thousand in cash right now that I'm going to start depositing once I'm done paying my taxes. I haven't done my taxes yet. I don't know how much I'm going to own. I want to make sure I have plenty of cash. But here's what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Once can you guys see the screen? Let me know. I think I might just buy a Bitcoin. I'll have enough that I'll have a full Bitcoin. All right, now check out what you can do on Ledger X. It's now owned by FTX. You can sell covered calls on an entire Bitcoin. So expiring in 3 days, if I'm willing to sell the $40,000 strike, expiring in 3 days, $500. Well, actually, it's $400, more likely. Oh, shit. Jane Deep just sent 200, well, I guess that's, what, rupees? 200 rupees? I don't know how much that is, but thank you. And there's the money gun. There we go. Give you a little bit more. Thank you very much for your commitment. He says that Infosystems is an Indian and North American IT giant, one of the large blue chip IT companies working on 5G metaverse in India. Anyway, love from India. Thank you, Jaydeep Pandey. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know much about Infosystems. I know I've seen the name before, but if they're working on 5G and metaverse, probably a good long-term pick. Anyway, Junk says, it doesn't make sense because we've had a death cross. We've had a death cross because of the fundamental and geopolitical economic outlook going forward in the next 10 to 20 years. Yeah, same shit, dude. Same thing. Same thing. All right. Here's what you can do with Bitcoin. So on FTX, which is ledgerx.com, you can sell covered calls on your Bitcoin. So if I were to buy a Bitcoin, all right, $38,000, if I'm willing to sell the $40,000 strike expiring in 17 days, so more than 2 weeks out, you can get about $1,600. All right, if you want to go out a little bit further, let's say September, you can sell a $50,000 for $3,000. It should be higher than that. I don't like that. That's too low. But I'd be looking at selling, a couple of weeks, maybe a month at a time. Let's do the April. Why is it so low? Do the April 40,000. No, that's June. You sell the April 40,000, you'll get about $3,000. If you're willing to sell Bitcoin for, $1,700 more than it's worth today, somebody's going to give you $2,300 right now in cash. If you're willing to do it 3 weeks from now, somebody will give you $1,600. If I had my Bitcoin right now, I would sell the $40,000 strike on Bitcoin expiring in 17 days, 4 hours, 25 minutes. And for doing that, somebody's going to give me $1,600 cash. You start talking about cash flow orientation, this is a really good opportunity for cash flow, is using Bitcoin. I think everybody should have some cryptocurrency that they just buy and hold. I mean, I have it. I got my Ledger X right here. You should have some cryptocurrency that you just hold for yourself. But by and large, I like to sell covered calls on it. I'm selling covered calls on Ethereum right now. $3,000 strike. How much do I have? I got 1.8 Ethereum on here. Let me sell a couple more of these. Expires 17 days. I'm going to sell a couple more. Let me sell them. I'll sell 10 contracts. So I'll sell them 50. Yeah. We'll see what we can do. So every contract on this website is 1/10 of an Ethereum or 1/100th of a Bitcoin. So you have to divide the Ethereum premiums by 10. So right now you're only getting $5 per 1/10 of an Ethereum if you sell at the $3,000 strike. I'm trying to sell 10 contracts, so it's 1 Ethereum. I'll have 0.85 left that I can sell covered calls on. Bitcoin, I don't have a whole lot in here, but I'm going to add to it. What do we got here? Who is Karen the Super Trader? I want to see this. Best Stock Strategy said she's a fraudster. All right, here she is. Let's watch a little bit of this. This is with Michael Sartain. Karen Bruton. This looks like the Super Trader. Let's see what she has to say. This looks like it was a long time ago. 9 years or so.
Welcome back.
To start trading for anybody.
Yeah.
But my friends came and asked me how much money I was making.
She seems smart.
I told them, and they said, well, can you invest some of my money? And it just built up through that. It built and built and built and built.
So Karen, I've done 11%, I've done 26%, I've done 36%, and last year I did 47%. What did you do? What did your friends hear that made them want to give you all this money? What were the numbers you were giving them?
I was averaging between 20 and 25%.
Okay.
But my big year was 54%.
You made 54%. I remember you mentioned this. At this point, we're doing naked short puts in SPX.
SPX.
Yes. It's not a crazy strategy. It's pretty.
Cover them now.
That's okay.
Right. So they're defined now. But at the time, we're doing naked short puts in SPX, and you're trying to collect a certain amount of credit, right? You're not looking for a certain delta. I know I don't mean to lose some of the people in the audience. We'll get back to what this means. But right at this point, you're selling puts below the market at a certain point.
Yeah, let's watch her on Tasty Trade. I'm actually really interested in this. Old video, 9 years old.
We're back. Beautiful. So I've been waiting for this segment.
Is the sound good here?
Like a year since we started the show. I'm Tom. She's Vanetta. He's Tony. And
he has told me about you for years, for years and years.
Well, so let me introduce Karen. And the only reason I'm not giving out last names is because I just don't want people reaching out to her, because I know respecting your privacy, and also because
you want to keep it for yourself. We got it. It's no big deal. Listen, I understand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But
I'm the one that's excited to be here.
Beautiful.
Wow, this is very impressive.
Well, I mean,
so she's just selling strangles?
We have
That's it?
known each other indirectly for probably 10 years, meaning that she knew me before I knew her. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until some point, probably about 3-4 years ago, where somebody said to me, "Hey, who is this woman?" Okay,
why hasn't she run yet?
No. And look at the risk that she has on, that kind of thing. And we're like, okay, we better figure out who this person is. So let me tell you the story, because this is great. And thank you so much for coming in. And this is a story I've been wanting to do for a ridiculous amount of time. And you fill in the blanks for us.
Well, I'm learning a lot. I didn't know you looked at what we were doing.
We don't until it pops up on a radar screen.
Okay.
You know, and the funny thing in the brokerage business is we really don't. People think like, oh, we look at individual accounts, but what most brokers do is they just do a scan. They have risk monitors, and they do a scan, you know, at different points, a different standard deviation move to figure out, you know, where the risk kicks in. And you know,
They've got comments on here I want to see. Karen the Super Trader. This video is an interview. We became aware that she and her firm are currently under SEC investigation for her accounting and reporting practices. Karen is not affiliated with TAC Trade other than being a prior guest. Last on in 2014. I wonder, like, what? All right, okay. At 15 minutes, she begins her actual trading strategy. So let's skip ahead.
Strictly shorting indexes.
Shorting premium.
Shorting premium. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Shorting premium. So as we've built this strategy, it's a very simple strategy. So one area that's improved what we've done has gotten simpler and simpler and simpler. We gave up a lot of the technical studies. We watch price and volume, our two main items. We have Bollinger Bands on our charts, but we watch the charts, we watch the movement, and we trade very short. And we're very nimble. So we work off theta, and
Okay, so
we're just in and out.
strangles, basically.
Within about 56 days is about as long as we'll venture out.
That's
and we
normal
keep pulling
so
that
far.
in shorter and shorter and turning these things around. But doing it in a very conservative way, trying to stay safe in all our positions. My philosophy is once you give me the money, you're not getting it back. So once that premium comes in, we have strategies in place where we do not give the money back. So very rarely,
So sell and hold till expiration
that
then.
makes us successful is the way we manage the account. We rarely lose in a position. Right? It's a rare thing that we lose in a
Now,
position.
when you say that, because you're just playing, it's a straight probability game. So you're going outside, like to what level? Because we teach a lot of different, when we're doing short premium, more like the way you trade, which is kind of wide index strangles, right? That would be the closest, like.
Sounds normal to me so far. I'm waiting for the punchline here.
You told me yesterday you stick to three different indexes primarily: the S&Ps,
SPX, RUT, and NDX.
Okay, so the three largest, and you have. I'm guessing that your tendency is to go how far. What is to get to the break-even point, or to get to the probability of expiring inside the number? Is it 80%, 75%, 85%? Like you're inside of what level?
We're working more of in the now it's called probability of being in the money.
Right.
Around 5%. We're putting positions
you're
on
the
around
2 standard
5%.
deviation move.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're basically at a 2 standard
still
deviation
normal so
move
far.
going out about 60 days.
At the most.
At the most, 56 days or whatever you said. So you're at the far ends. You're at the far ends of the curve. You're essentially the same place where the brokerage firms are at. You know, when we monitor risk. So you've been doing this now. So you've had some. Let's talk about some of the market moves during that period. I mean, remember, early 2009 was hairy, and then you had the flash crash.
Flash crash in 2010.
Which was May 6th of 2010, which had to be nerve-wracking for you guys.
It was very nerve-wracking. I was practicing my Spanish that day because I thought I would be moving to Mexico.
Downs are amazingly consistent with that probability of success. So you're talking somewhere between 5 and 10%.
All right, somebody give me the punchline here, because it sounds like all she's doing is selling strangles at the 16 delta, 60 days out, 40 to 60 days out. That's pretty normal. Like I do that, and she is right. You'll make money about 95% of the time if you take profits early. It doesn't sound like she wants to take profits early. She wants to hold until expiration, so it probably dings her profitability a little bit. But so far, this all sounds pretty normal. So there's got to be some trick here that she's going to pull. Is she going to use leverage to go too far with it and then blow herself up?
Of the time you'll have a drawdown, which based on your schedule, you're probably talking about 1 to 2 drawdowns a year, which is consistent with your strategy. And it's amazing how those numbers play out.
Work.
Yeah,
it always works.
It's, last year we have 2 funds. One fund had 0 drawdowns, and the other one had 1.
That's consistent with the probabilities you're going to. Now, one of the things that you're probably starting to discover now is that the more money you make, the harder it is to make money.
We're
You're
not
close.
quite there yet.
Yeah, you're
I've thought about it. I've thought about it. We're still at the point where, as the money flows in, we're still successful, just increasing the number of contracts that we trade in a position. So it hasn't become difficult.
It's amazing how liquid the markets are, aren't they?
It is.
So let me ask you, because this is so it's. I wish it wasn't as rare as it is. Like, I wish your story I wish we could have 1,000 people in here with a similar story.
Like, all right, it doesn't sound like they're going to get to the punchline here. So let's, like, what she's describing. No, Easy E, thank you very much for the super chat, man. Thank you. He says, Mikey, love the channel. I'm curious when I would reassess risk tolerance and portfolio weighting. I got a small portfolio, but I'm not sure how often I should reassess my weight in tech, for example. So I learned this very valuable lesson this year. When I stopped being able to sleep comfortably at night, that's when I knew that I was way overexposed to tech and the high growth names that were just getting hammered. I think it was sometime last week. I can't remember the day. Stocks looked like they were going to be down. They were going to limit down overnight. The stocks ended up being green for that day, but the futures indicated it was going to limit down within minutes of open. And I could not sleep. I think it was actually the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, so it might have been a little bit more than a week ago. I was really in a tough spot, and that's when I knew I can pretend my risk tolerance is high, but in reality, it's probably on the lower end of average. I'm an income-oriented person, not a high-risk trader. So what I did, I took tax losses where I could, and then rolled into positions where I still wanted to actually hold the exposure to the underlying. I sold some puts so I can get some delta back, stay focused on the stock rising. So in that regard, I think I made the right move. But once you start feeling like you're uneasy, like I don't know if am I overexposing myself? Am I taking too much risk? The answer by that point is probably yes. So anytime you don't feel good about what you hold, you should reassess your risk. And the very first thing, you say you're a new trader, you have a small portfolio, very first thing I would do is buy 100 shares of SPHD first. All right, this is going to cost you about $4,600. And then the next thing, 100 shares of QQQX. You're now guaranteed money in dividend every month, and every 3 months you're going to get a bigger dividend. Use that as a nice foundation, and then you can start trading the higher risk stuff on top of it. That's my choice there. Is Biden speaking right now? All right, where's Biden? Should be able to get White House live pretty quick. Where are we at? I'm just typing in White House, not the right answer. There we go. President Biden announces. All right, he's going to get started pretty soon. So we'll keep this on this for now. Once he goes live, then we will join Joe Biden. I think, I already saw a little bit of what he intends to talk about today. But I think the key takeaway is that they're going to be making organizations accountable to report more information on their crypto holdings. That's it. So I don't think we're going to actually see like Bitcoin get banned in the United States. That's not going to happen. But we'll keep him open. Let's see what we got in the comments right now. Blaine Prater, your realtor, says she's pretty sure that Karen, the super trader, was reporting fake numbers. It wasn't anything about her strategy. It was just that she was reporting incorrect information. All right, well, I mean, that's just fraud. There's really no two ways about that one. If you're just lying about your results, then you're doing something wrong. S3 blocks financial influencers he sees online. All right, well. All right, thanks, man. Let's see. Some people are waiting for the 3K challenge. The reason I stopped doing the 3K, I didn't stop doing the 3K challenge. I just don't really do it very often anymore. Is because nobody watches it. Like, I'll put a ton of work into the video, and then there'll be people that love it, but then nobody watches it. And I'll get like, 1/8 as many views as I would by making a dank trade video. So if you want to see what the 3K challenge portfolio looks like, you'll notice that I'm back to, I don't know, what is it, like January of 2021 numbers. Like, I basically lost an entire year's worth of slow grinding gains since Christmas, which sucks. It's not blown up or anything, The best trade right now has probably been this RSX put. What am I up 200% now? A little under. Came back up a little bit. But until this thing goes, you know, it's been halted. Like I bought for like what, $70, so I bought it right here. And it's been rising, 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 and all of a sudden the thing gets halted. And now I'm screwed. So I need them to turn back on pretty soon. Oh, Colton Husk, thank you. He uses ad block, so he's giving me $5 to say thanks for all the videos. Here's the money that you would have got off of me watching ads for you. Thank you, Colton. I appreciate that. Let's see. Coxix Tank is asking, PRU or O stock for dividends. So I actually hold both of those. I hold Prudential and I hold Realty Income. These should definitely both be on your list when you're interested in dividend. So Prudential it's going to grow. I mean, it's a pretty good company to begin with. And then I bought it. It was probably one of my best timed purchases ever. It was like $60 when I bought it. So I think it was like April of 2020. So not only has the stock gone up, but I'm also yielding about 7% on it, which is fantastic. So 7% dividend yield on a stock like Prudential, go for it. And then Realty Income, also really good for dividend. It raises its dividend every quarter. Yeah, right now it's 4.26, so it's pretty good to begin with. It's not going to quite keep up with the growth equities, but you're getting a pretty solid dividend that you can count on. So really, really good for all dividend investors. Dead New wants to know, are there Theta Gang strategies coming? Yes, there is one. I'm actually almost done with it right now. I need to update it, but I'm also waiting on the sponsor to release these new features that they've been describing so that I can actually release the video. But I'm going to do a video on strangles. So, I mean, the way I run strangles is pretty much the same way that Karen, the super trader, was describing. And it's pretty well documented on Tasty Trade. They were even advocating for it there. But you just go like 30 to 45 days out. So let's just do April 6th. Oh, hold on. Hit the pause button. Easy E says he really appreciates it. He's been running some dividend stocks, but should definitely get more. Any more scamming scammers videos in the pipeline? So actually, it's funny you should mention scamming scammers because I've noticed that my ability to counter scam has been severely degraded by the fact that the very first thing scammers see when they open up my channel is a video of me scamming scammers. So I haven't had the same degree of success that I had in the previous weeks, but I have been able to get a little bit more money from some people. Just a lot of them are seeing my channel and then ditching. I hope that disappears, that problem goes away when that scam the scammer video is a few videos behind. Maybe they won't catch it right away. But for now, it's been impacted by the ability that they can actively see that I'm scamming scammers. So they run away. But I did get a few more dollars. It's just going to be included in the freeloader videos unless I can really get somebody good. Somebody did pay me $200 into my Ponzi scheme, into their Ponzi scheme, but there was so many barriers to withdraw. You actually had to pay to withdraw from the Ponzi scheme. So I was like, there's no way I'm getting into it. But anyway, let's look at right now. Let's look at the strangle strategy. So this is what Karen, the super trader, was describing. This is what Tasty Trade advocates. This is what I do right now. So we go like 30 to 45 days out. This is about 30 days out. Actually, matter of fact, let's do April 14th. So you would go and you would sell a put at the 16 delta. So that's 2 standard deviations. 22. Now we got to go a little bit further. All right, so we would sell the put at the $370 strike on SPY. That's really, really low. All right, then we're going to go back and we're going to sell the call likewise at the 16 delta. So poke around a little bit. It's 25 delta. All right, close enough. Close enough. We'll make nice even numbers. So right now, what one would do is you would sell a put at the 370 strike and then sell a call at the 450 strike. What do you think the probability is that SPY is going below 370 within the next 45 days? I mean, I think it's pretty low. It's possible, but it's pretty low. And that's indicated by the deltas. And if SPY recovers all the way back to 450 in the next 45 days, I will be extremely happy regardless of what happens to the strangle. So right now, we'd be looking at approximately $700 max gain within the next 45 days by just selling one strangle. So I think what Karen was probably doing is, can I sell, like, what if we did like 30 of these? Now you're looking at like $20,000 possible gain within the next 5 weeks. That's probably what Karen, the super trader, was doing. I'm not going to do something like that. But there is money to be made here, absolutely. So I think strangles are good. Christian asks, do I think strangles are good in the environment that we're in? I think yes, because volatility has increased. And when volatility is high, that means options premiums are higher. So I can sell a 370 strike on SPY and still get some pretty appreciable money. All right, that's a big deal. So when volatility is high, you have the opportunity, premiums are high, and then if volatility decreases, you'll also make money in that direction as well. So yes, I do think that they're good. All right, my child is joining me. You want some soup? Is that good? Soap. Oh, you got soap. Okay, it's very nice. All right. My daughter wanted to show me some soap. All right, so this is a strategy that I'm using right now. I've got one open. It's the 400 by 450, I think, maybe 460. You do not need Ru2D2 is asking, do you need the cash available to cover assignment if the stock were to go down so much and you get assigned to buy shares at $370 strike? So Robinhood won't actually allow you to do this. Robinhood won't allow you to trade this because it's a level 4 option strategy. So you have to have a broker that will allow you to do it without having the cash to cover. On Robinhood, yes, you would need cash to cover yourself. Otherwise, they won't even let you trade this. On Merrill Edge, on Fidelity, on who else? Any of the big names, Schwab, they won't make you have the cash if you're approved to a level 4 option strategy. I know it sounds extremely risky because SPY could drop to $200 in the next 40 days and you'd be on the hook for a huge loss. But it's not realistic for SPY to drop 50% in a month. It's not realistic. Looks like my dog is joining me too. You guys see Snoofer back there? She's going to hang out with us. Yeah, what do we got here? ZD says volatility doesn't show signs of decreasing. Yeah, well, volatility is not going to show signs of decreasing until something happens that would cause it to decrease. Like if Ukraine and Russia are able to work out a deal, huge volatility drop. Markets start rallying again. But you're not going to have any signs of that really until it happens. I think they're going to surprise us one day when the war is over. We're not going to see a lot of leading factors to get to that. Market's taking a fat L. Rudy2 asks, or you could make an iron condor. Yes, you can do that. Like if this is just too much risk, you're not trying to do all that, you could also just buy, go a little bit further out of the money, and buy like the 9 delta or something. So you could like buy the 58, 458, and then you can buy a put down here at like 350 or something. So it would, no, what did I do? I just sold another put. No, I want to buy a put. All right, you get this like iron condor shape. I didn't really make this in any way, so it looks kind of funky, but you get the idea. If it's too much risk, you can trade some of that max profit potential and you can limit your max loss. So you don't have to worry about getting completely blown out. If a strangle is too much risk, you could do the iron condor instead. Undefined risk is more theta, that is correct. Well, I talk about doing these on IV Crush to yes, I will talk about doing these on earnings to capitalize on IV Crush. Is AMD a steal? Yeah, kind of. All right. Looks like you guys are talking about how. We'll come back to that. Bot Gameplay says, how long have I been trading? Any videos recommended to learn options strategies? So just look at my Theta Gang option or Theta Gang strategies playlist. You'll see all the strategies that I use. The only one that's not on there right now is Strangles because I'm waiting for my sponsor to finish their system update so that I can push it out at the same time that they're updated. And it'll actually help you trade Strangles. You'll get better IV data from the sponsor than you will anywhere else. So I will actually be using that sponsor when I trade Strangles. So I'm waiting for them to finish what they need to be doing first. And it looks like you guys are talking about like oil production in the U.S. Like if we look at oil production in the U.S., like we're drilling a lot of oil. Like this isn't happening because the U.S. stopped drilling oil. Like we look at the numbers here. Can you guys see that? Okay, I gotta maybe I gotta move myself out of the way. All right, we'll wait for my screen to update, and I'll see if my head is in the way here. But I mean, you can see our numbers. We're drilling a lot more oil than we have been in the past. I mean, this is just the month-by-month numbers. You look at what we're producing in 2021. I'll scroll down a little bit. What we're producing in 2021 versus 2016. It's a lot more. It's like 40% more. So this isn't, oil prices are not going up because we're not drilling any more oil. I mean, we're good on that count. Demand for oil is way up. across the entire globe. Like renewables are not keeping up with the increased demand for energy. So fossil fuels are still necessary. Demand is extremely high across the globe. OPEC has taken steps to reduce their output. We're producing a lot in the US. We export a lot of oil. And it's not up to the United States government how much oil we export. That's up to the companies that are drilling the oil. So that's why things are very funky, why we export a ton of oil, but we're also an importer of oil. Like it doesn't make sense if you're playing like Civilization or if you're playing Age of Empires. It doesn't make sense to run an economy like that, but that's the world that we live in. So what we need is for OPEC countries to start increasing their oil. We're going to increase our own oil production, I have no doubt. We're going to start, this is going to start ticking up again. We're going to reach that 2019 or February 2020 peak. Right now we're at about 2018 numbers. But this is going to rise because oil is so expensive. Everybody is going to be encouraged to drill more oil. I think we need more nuclear plants. And then once we have a nice nuclear foundation under us, now we can start making a serious transition to renewables. Because if we don't do that, then there will be no Earth in 200 years. Or there will be an Earth, but it's going to suck. So, but to make that transition to net zero, we first need to get our energy production to keep up with demand. That's what's going to fuel us getting to the next stage. Bot gameplay says we've doubled oil production from 20 years ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. Abdel says you can't drill any more oil. I don't think that's the case. I think you can drill a lot more oil. So I do think that we need to get to net zero because I'm listening to it on Bloomberg. These are banks that are already taking steps to protect themselves for when the Florida coast gets flooded. They're talking about how they expect that some of the real estate on like the Miami coastline, or southern Florida, that real estate's not going to be there in 30 years. So if people are taking out 30-year mortgages, 22 years from now, the sea level has risen so much that that property is underwater. Literally underwater. Not underwater financially, but literally under the sea level. Now, who's paying the rest of that mortgage? These banks are already offloading that onto Fannie and Freddie. They are bundling mortgages and selling them to the U.S. government because they know that they're not going to get their money back on that investment because it's going to be literally underwater. We're going to face a lot more challenges like that if we don't get the climate under control. But that's a whole entire globe project. That's not just the United States. What we need to do is start, I think, get some nuclear reactors pumping more and then fuel our transition to renewable energy from there. That's just me, and I'm not a climatologist. Interesting. Christopher Degenbach says oil is going up because they're storing it. They're holding it. They're not releasing it. I didn't even think about that. Companies that are drilling oil right now, they're not sending it all into the economy. They're holding it. And then they're going to wait for the price to rise more before they sell it. Well, if that's the case, then it should dump. But all right, ZD says when you cancel pipelines and sanction Russian oil, the president absolutely has influence. So the only pipeline that got canceled, to my knowledge, is the Keystone XL extension pipeline, which was to flow from Canada to the Gulf Coast for export. So I think that would not have too big of an impact on United States production. That's Canadian production. Here's our annual increase. Here's our annual oil increase. So, all right, let me see. And so this is going to be sooner than 200 years before the climate is so damaged. Fuel our transition. And so it says, why does the U.S. government buy those? Because the U.S. government is obligated to buy those mortgages as part of the Fannie and Freddie situation. I don't know why, but that's just what they got to do. They have to buy those mortgages. It's supposed to be a backstop to prevent another 2008 crash with bad loans and stuff. All right. Squirrely Crypto seems pretty bearish on the environment through. 60% of our oil is Canadian. I think it's a little bit lower. I think it's more like 50, but yeah, pretty darn close. China is hoarding oil. All right. So we're all pretty bullish on oil price. I think we need to take a second look now at what oil is doing. Crude oil futures, let's look at the April contracts. Why is it not like letting me click on this? Anybody like use this website frequently and can tell me why it doesn't just let me click on the April? All right, whatever. All right, so we're at $126 a barrel. I think we're still going higher than this because we're already talking about, we just heard it. Oh, is Joe Biden live? No, he's not there yet. Joe Biden, people are assessing that Joe Biden is going to ban Russian oil within the next few days. It doesn't have a huge impact on our oil supply because we don't get very much oil from Russia. It's 1% of our total oil and 3% of what we import. And Canada can easily fill that gap. But if Europe gets on board with that ban, and I think they'll try to do something to curb imports of Russian oil just to stay in lockstep with us. We're kind of a leader of NATO. I think they'll try to do something to limit the amount that they're importing. They can't outright ban it. They wouldn't have enough oil. But if that's still driving the price of oil higher. There just won't be as much supply getting into Europe anymore. See, Abdal says, Russia is the third largest producer of petroleum after the US and Saudi Arabia, exporting almost 5 million barrels a day of crude oil. No one can cover that market share in short time. So globally, yes, they're a huge exporter of oil, but that's not just to the United States, they're a very small exporter of oil. To Europe, they're a huge exporter. I think somebody had mentioned too that China is also a huge recipient of Russian oil. So it would probably take Europe cutting oil off to really do some serious damage to the Russian economy when it comes to oil. I don't think that Europe can do that, but if they even attempt to, it's going to drive the price higher because there'll be less supply of oil reaching Europe. What else we got here? Sibcoin. I don't know anything about Sibcoin. S3 says he sees that market participants are always trying to rationalize movements after the fact. You can get much more insight on markets by ignoring most politics. I don't know. I mean, if you're doing the research yourself, yeah, maybe. It's easy to rationalize after the fact. I mean, that's normal. It's much harder to predict it. I mean, what I'm predicting is that oil is going to go higher. I haven't taken any bets on it yet, but I think it'll happen. Cheese flavored soda says, do I like Bayraktars? Yeah, I like Bayraktars a lot. Those are great. I'm really, really glad that the Ukrainians are using those very effectively. Those are a Turkish UAV. I think Ukraine is actually the first time they've been used in combat. All right, what do I think about wheat? So it's interesting you brought this up. So Blaine Prater, I think he's still in this chat right now. He said wheat is there's a lot of wheat produced in Ukraine and southern Russia. And since Ukraine is not focused on farming right now, Russia's not focused on farming, the supply of wheat is very likely to drop, and therefore the price will rise. So if that's the case, I mean, we've seen some of that already. What's 8 to 11.5? That's like 40%-ish. Big increase in price already. Can it increase further? And I mean, I think it can if this war rages on longer. I don't know how much the supply of wheat has been damaged already, but I'm willing to bet that it's going to take a hit. So will it merit more than a 40% price increase is the case. I wouldn't buy options on this right now. I'd be buying shares. Why is nickel up that much? $13.20 Wolf says we must up oil production here. Oil producers can capitalize on the higher prices, and then prices will come back down. Not rocket science. Yeah, I think that's a given. That's already going to be happening. You know, we're looking at more equal demand for oil as prior, less supply. More people are producing oil. That's not even a question. I wouldn't worry about that. Biden is more concerned about the flavor of ice cream, though. It's really not up to Biden. I think people are making that mistake. It wasn't up to Trump how much oil we drilled. It wasn't up to Trump that we became a net exporter of oil for 1 month. It's not up to Biden how much oil we refine and drill either. There's some political stuff behind it, but by and large, it's not like the president is deciding how much oil we drill. That's not true for any president. People need civics classes. What is nickel? Somebody brought up a great point. When should we harvest wheat? I don't know. When do they harvest wheat? I fucking know. Somebody who grew up on a farm, let me know. This is in like Mexican prices. All right, nickel spot, MOEX. Somebody let me know. What's the ETF for nickel? They even halted nickel trading. Wheat has 2 crops, winter wheat and summer wheat. Winter wheat takes twice as long to grow. So, yeah, y'all, let me know. Mikey, learn to use the tools on TradingView. I don't know shit about TradingView, dude. I don't know why you guys make me use this website, but all you guys want it. July, like fall. People need civics classes. Amen, brother. GoPro looks like long term. My in-laws farm wheat. Summertime. You guys are all over the place. You guys saying July, fall, winter, and summer crop. September. Use the fueler on the left to measure. Ah. I can track percentage like this? Oh, look at that. It's not an accurate percentage, though, is it? All right, nickel up 81% in the past, like, 2 days. Shit's crazy, man. Somebody said GoPro. If you want to look at GoPro, I don't know why you'd want to look at GoPro. All right, they did all right during the meme stock bubble. Hasn't done much since then, though. I remember when GoPro was new, when I was just getting out of college. I think tanked since then. Yeah, I wouldn't be going long GoPro here. A lot of you guys, I'm surprised, know when you farm wheat. I would have guessed autumn, but that's just because I feel like that's when you usually harvest stuff at the end of the summer. Nickel. All right, you guys saying Nick? Wisdom Tree Nickel. London Stock Exchange. Okay, that'll do it. It looks like nickel's come back down a little bit, though. And by a little bit, I mean like 50%. Yeah, God, that shot up to 62 from 1st of March, like 24. Was there like a nickel mine somewhere in Russia that got destroyed or something like that? All right, everybody wants to look at, I guess we're talking about Kimber Energy. People are screaming for it. All right, was this one of those meme stocks? We're looking at a penny stock that's gone up. Now I know I can use this ruler. A penny stock that's gone up 215% in 3 days. So, I mean, you get what you get. I don't know anything about Coinbase Energy, but it's a penny stock, so I'm already cautious on it. JJN, that's the one. JJN for the nickel ETF. That's what I was looking for. I actually considered taking a long position on it this morning. I guess it's a good thing I didn't, because I was streaming instead. But there's other ones. There's other... Was it D or DDB? Yeah, DBB, Base Metals Fund. This is something I might take a long position in. I don't think the metals are done rising yet. I was even listening to Bloomberg like 3 months ago on the radio, and they had a guest on who was talking about how metals are going to be the big thing. It was probably around August, September, maybe October, somewhere around in here. It's probably right before this bump, honestly. Talking about how metals are going to be the next big thing. We're going to see a long-term bull market for metals and other industrial products that people need. So fuels maybe too. Would have been the right time to go long. But we have this supply constraint. Supply chain is constrained. People need to go further back in the supply chain to get the materials that are in demand. And metals are obviously going to be one of those things. I'm just a little bit disappointed that lithium never caught fire, because I had to sell this for like a 30% loss. I bought it like here. It was more like $85, and then I just held it until I lost money on it. So I think lithium is probably undervalued right now. It ought to be higher, but it's a head and shoulders pattern on it, so there's probably more room to drop. Maybe I'll buy into it later. What else we got here? Cos2060 says, Kamikaze Cash, what renewables do I have in my portfolio? I don't have any renewables in my portfolio. I don't think people take renewables seriously enough for me to have it in my portfolio. If I were to have something, it would be iClean. An index. I don't know enough about the industry, so I'm just going to buy the ETF. I'm going to buy iClean. So it's still on the Dow trend, but eventually this thing's going to go higher once people start taking renewable energy seriously. It's going to take Florida flooding and rich people losing money. That's when people are going to start caring about renewable energy. When rich people start having their houses go underwater, literally under the sea level because of global warming, that's when we're suddenly going to start caring about global warming. And that's when I'm going to buy into clean energy ETFs. Yeah, I don't know much about Coccyx Tanks saying, what about Zim and GSL? I don't know about either of those, but they look great. At least Zim did. I don't know about this one. I've never heard of it before, CSL. But Zim looks fantastic. I don't know. I've never heard of it before. I just realized my head hasn't been on camera. I mean, this company looks great. It's paying a high dividend too, so if they can really produce $13 of earnings, that would be nuts. But that could be a good one. All right, Putin still ain't on. Putin, Biden still isn't on. He should be pretty soon, right? I mean, started streaming 42 minutes ago. Yeah, I was hoping he'd be on by now. Russia is a big exporter of wood. Ah, interesting. Okay, West Fraser. What's the ticker on that? West Fraser Timber. So is this an American company? It sounds like it. An American company that should see increased demand because it hasn't been doing so hot. Well, I could use a ruler and find out exactly how much it dropped. It dropped 14%, so almost as bad as my portfolio. That's cool. Biden sleeping. Biden asleep. Biden playing golf. Oh, we got kicked out. No. I'm still waiting for my opportunity to buy Bitcoin, and I'm going to just go sell. If you can sell the $40,000 strike for about $1,650 right now, expires in 2 weeks. I mean, that's cash flow right there. You do that twice a month. You get $3,200 a month just off the Bitcoin. So it's almost 10% of a Bitcoin you're earning each month by selling covered calls. I would take that money and throw it right into some other cryptocurrency. Yeah. Let's see what else we got going on in the market here. How's my buddy LRCX doing? So this is why I stopped buying leaps, because of shit like this. Like a company becoming very clearly oversold. Let's look at stock charts and see. I'll keep that up for when you guys start asking about energy production again. All right, stockcharts.com. Let's see. About to puncture into oversold on the RSI. Death cross on the moving averages. MACD looks like shit. You know what? Why don't we do this? Let's go to Seeking Alpha. Because I've got Seeking Alpha Premium. We should take advantage of it. Lamb Research. Okay. Let's see the ratings for it. All right, so it's graded as a hold. It's been graded as a hold since it stopped being a buy, evidently at 700 almost, 650. It's been a hold since then. Yeah, the quant doesn't really like it so much. I'm a little bit disappointed about that because I have such high expectations for this company. They make the machines that other companies need in order to make semiconductors. And you'd think with all the semiconductor production that's going on in the United States, then this stock should be higher. Well, let's see what the authors have to say about it. Lamb Research, not all problems are supply chain related. Rising semiconductor R&D spend. All right. Wild Alpha says it's time to take profits on Lamb Research. Let's see if that's the case. All right, first we'll read Robert Castellano. He says Lamb Research is down as outlook below consensus mark was blamed on supply chain disruptions, plus COVID labor shortages and high gas prices. Lamb shortfall was not supply chain, as etch sales to China suffered. Okay. So Robert Castellano is concerned that Lamb Research isn't going to be selling enough to China to keep its profits up. Labor shortages, COVID-19. I don't know. I think COVID-19 is kind of canceled by now. I'm a little skeptical about this boy here. Yeah, I'm not worried about Castellano. He's worried about the wrong thing. All right, Wild Alpha, what do you got to say? He said 3 years ago he was bullish on Lamb Research. Lamb Research firing on all cylinders, but the valuation has become extremely stretched, and we believe it's time to take profits or at least reduce the position. And he said this on November 6th. And at that point, Lamb Research was a little over $600. But he would have also missed out on this over $700 bump. So they're positive on the company's fundamentals and still believe they're one of the best companies in the semiconductor industry. So he's really not that bearish. But I think by and large, this is still a good company to be holding. I'm a little bit concerned about why the market doesn't love it right now. But there hasn't been a whole lot of analyst coverage to begin with. So yeah, I'm going to just hold. I'm too bullish on the company to say it's time to sell now when it's below $500 for the first time in years, like a year at least. But I mean, there's other companies too. There's AMAT, which is very, very similar. And they're actually, well, they're not doing so hot either, but they're okay today. The quant actually really likes AMAT versus LRCX. Valuation is apparently still high according to these AIs. But now that the stock has come down, we're back at buy rating again according to the quant. I think there's one more too. Is it ASML? I can't remember. But this one is a screaming hold according to the bot. Quant. Oh, here we go. So there's some coverage on energy transfer. So ET is one of the companies that I own. They own the pipelines in the United States. I think like 50% of them. Big dividend company, but they're probably in the best financial position they could ever have possibly been in. Or at least they've been in many, many years, if not ever. Okay. Now this is according to Envision Research. All right. Russia and Ukraine creates substantial uncertainty in the global energy market. Well, it's groundbreaking. Domestic pipeline players such as Energy Transfer are the most insulated to the turbulence and best hedge against geopolitical uncertainties. So they're looking at, let's go a step further than just the price of oil. Let's go back, and we know that everybody's going to need oil regardless of the price. So let's get to the pipelines, which are still going to be profitable regardless of what the price of oil does. Refineries faced a mixed situation. Yeah, crude oil. Phew, look at that. Highest level since 2008. I mean, last time we were at this crude oil level, it predicated a recession. Like a steep, steep recession. Is there a reason to believe the same thing's going to happen again? I mean, we're at the highest prices of fuel since 2008. Energy is the only true currency in the human world, since the very beginning of human history and predictably to the end, too. Yeah. We can live without gold or paper, but we cannot live without energy. And it's the truth. So I actually have 30 shares of Chevron. They must be doing okay. Yeah, they're looking great. I mean, if I just had all my money in Chevron, I'd be a lot happier. But I do have 30 shares of it. It's worth pretty good money right now. Over $5,000. So Bot Gameplay wants to know, what is the quant? The quant it's an AI that Seeking Alpha bought from, I can't remember who, some artificial intelligence company. They made a robot that just does stocks all day. That's all it does, is evaluate stocks on like thousands of metrics. So when the quant is better at trading than all of us. I mean, this is like the type of thing that like JP Morgan would use to trade stocks for it. So it's pretty good at picking stuff. It's a lot better than I am. A lot better than anybody here is. But it says that Chevron has been a strong buy since 109. And even before that, it's been a buy pretty much the entire time. And now its prediction is paying off. Yeah, Chevron is looking great. Should have more Chevron. But I don't. I just have 30 shares. I think I got him at like $100. So they probably got him like back here in summer of, I think it was in like 2020. Yeah, now we're all right. Chevron's hanging in there. Exxon gets a lot of it from Saudi Arabia, right? Yeah, Exxon's looking great too. You guys want me to check the quant? Look at AMD and the quant? Yeah, I'll look at the quant. So AMD, buy. So it's been a buy for a long time. Now it's dropping into hold because I guess there's some fundamental factors to it. But the quant has been bullish on it for a long, long time. Buy. I mean, I think it's still a screaming buy, and the quant is pretty favorable to it too. It looks like right now it's just fallen into the hold territory, just below the buy rating. There must be something that's making it a hold. I don't know what that is, but probably just some kind of macroeconomic condition. If you guys want me to look at some more of these, just let me know what you want me to look at. Sonny wants to look at Oxy. Occidental Petroleum. So that's also a hold, but it's doing great right now. So it looks like the quant probably growth. It's not expecting a ton of growth in the future, and that's what the problem is. I think, just based on what I'm looking at, the quant probably expects that this is a temporary thing for Oxy. But we are really, really close to a buy rating, so it's not like we're way off. It's probably just not predicting that Oxy has the capability to really benefit from this price rise. I'm going to try to catch all of these, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get all of them. Quant is amazing, part of the new ISO 2022 messaging system replacing Swift. All right, Squirrely likes the quant. I don't know what any of that stuff is that he's talking about besides Swift, but he likes it. All right, can I look at SWBI? I'm going to try to do almost all of these, but I'm not going to be able to do commentary on everything or I'll miss them. All right, Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson a hold. Well, quant, Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm not looking at Bed Bath & Beyond. Hell no. CSX. Intel. See, you guys can get access to all this stuff. I have the link in the description of this video. I don't think I have it right here. I'll pin it. It's not particularly expensive. It's like if you buy like the annual plan, I think it's like $10 a month. You can get all this. Oh, must be. I was wondering what that sound was. It's Biden. He had a couple of phone calls. He says, "All right, Biden."
The United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy.
There it is.
That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine.
Well,
this is a move that has strong bipartisan support in Congress and I believe in the country. Americans have rallied to support their Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war. We made this decision in close consultation with our allies and our partners around the world, particularly in Europe, because a united response to Putin's aggression has been my overriding focus to keep all NATO and all of the EU and our allies totally united. We're moving forward with this ban, understanding that many of our European allies and partners may not be in a position to join us.
Yep.
The United States produces far more oil domestically than all the European countries combined. In fact, we're a net exporter of energy. So we can take this step when others cannot. But we're working closely with Europe and our partners to develop a long-term strategy to reduce their dependence on Russian energy as well. Our teams are actively discussing how to make this happen, and today we remain united. We remain united in our purpose to keep pressure mounting on Putin and his war machine. This is a step that we're taking to inflict further pain on Putin. But there will be cost as well here in the United States. I said I would level with the American people from the beginning.
What happened to oil? What happened?
To this, I said defending freedom is going to cost. It's going to cost us as well in the United States. Republicans and Democrats understand that. Republicans and Democrats alike have been clear that we must do this. Over the last week, I've spoken with President Zelensky several times to hear from him about the situation on the ground and to consult and continue to consult with our European allies and about U.S. support for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Thus far, we've provided more than $1 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. Shipments of defensive weapons are arriving in Ukraine every day from the United States, and we, the United States, are the ones coordinating the delivery of our allies and partners of similar weapons, from Germany to Finland to the Netherlands. We're working that out. We're also providing humanitarian support for the Ukrainian people, both those still in Ukraine and those who have fled safely to a neighboring country. We're working with humanitarian organizations to surge tens of thousands of tons of food, water, and medical supplies into Ukraine, and with more on the way. Over the weekend, I sent Secretary Blinken to visit our border between Poland and Ukraine and to Moldova to see what the situation was firsthand and report back. General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of our Defense Department, was also in Europe, meeting with his counterparts and allies on NATO's eastern flank to reassure them, those countries bordering Russia, NATO countries, that we will keep our NATO commitment, the sacred commitment of Article 5. The Vice President Harris is going to be traveling to meet with our allies in Poland and Romania later this week as well. I've made it clear the United States will share in the responsibility of caring for the refugees so the costs do not fall entirely on the European countries bordering Ukraine. And yesterday I spoke with my counterparts in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom about Russia's escalating violence against Ukraine and the steps that we're going to take together with our allies and partners around the world to respond to this aggression. We are enforcing the most significant package of economic sanctions in history, and it's causing significant damage to Russia's economy. It has caused Russian economy to fight frankly crazy. The Russian ruble is now down to 50%, by 50% since Putin's announced his war.
It's worth 5% of a Dogecoin.
Is now worth less than 1 American penny. 1 ruble is less than 1 American penny. And preventing Russia's central bank from propping up the ruble and to keep its value up. They're not going to be able to do that now. We cut Russia's largest banks from the international financial system, and it's crippled their ability to do business with the rest of the world. In addition, we're choking off Russia's access to technology like semiconductors that are and sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Major companies are pulling out of Russia entirely without even being asked, not by us. Over the weekend, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they all suspended their services.
Being Russian right now makes, like, the fact that I'm not Russian makes me feel better about my portfolio.
Global companies from Ford to Nike to Apple, they've suspended their operations in Russia. The U.S. Stock Exchange has halted trading of many Russian securities. The private sector is united against Russia's vicious war of choice. The U.S. Department of Justice has assembled a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of Russian oligarchs. And we're joining with our European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets, and all their ill-begotten gains to make sure that they share in the pain of Putin's war. These, by the way, are giant yachts. You've put some of them in your press. I mean, some of them are, I think I read one was over 400 feet long. I mean, it's this is worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Steal that shit.
Today is not
have a party on it.
Here at home. Putin's war is already hurting American families at the gas pump. Since Putin began his military buildup on Ukrainian borders, just since then, the price of the gas at the pump in America went up 75 cents. And with this action,
it's a lot longer than that now, brother.
I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home. In coordination with our partners, we've already announced that we're releasing 60 million barrels of oil from our joint oil reserves. Half of that, 30 million, is coming from the United States. And we're taking steps to ensure the reliable supply of global energy. We're also going to keep working with every tool at our disposal to protect American families and businesses. Let me say this. To the oil and gas companies and to the finance firms that back them, we understand Putin's war against the people of Ukraine is causing prices to rise. We get that. That's self-evident. But, it's no excuse to exercise excessive price increases or padding profits or any kind of effort to exploit this situation or American consumers. Exploit them. Russia's aggression is costing us all, and it's no time for profiteering or price gouging. I want to be clear about what we'll not tolerate. But I also want to acknowledge those firms and oil and gas industries that are pulling out of Russia and joining other businesses that are leading by example. This is a time when we have to do our part and make sure we're not taking advantage. Look, let me be clear about
it's an Obama term. Let me be clear.
It's simply not true that my administration or policies are holding back domestic energy production.
I believe him when he says that.
It's simply not true. Even amid the pandemic, companies in the United States pumped more oil during my first year in office than they did during my predecessor's first year. We're approaching a record levels of
That's a
oil and
cherry-picked
gas production in the
statistic,
United
but okay.
States, and we're on track to set a record of oil production next year. In the United States, 90% of onshore oil production takes place on land that isn't owned by the federal government. And of the remaining 10% that occurs on federal land, oil and gas industry has millions of acres leased. They have 9,000 permits to drill now. They could be drilling right now, yesterday, last week, last year. They have 9,000 to drill onshore that are already approved. So let me be clear. Let me be clear. They are not using them for production now. That's their decision. These are the facts. We should be honest about the facts. Second, this crisis is a stark reminder. To protect our economy over the long term, we need to become energy independent. I've had numerous conversations over the last 3 months with our European friends of how they have to wean themselves off of Russian oil. It's just not tenable. It should motivate us to accelerate the transition to clean energy. This is a perspective that our European allies share, and a future where together we can achieve greater independence. Loosening environmental regulations or pulling back clean energy investment won't, let me expand, will not lower energy prices for families. But transforming our economy to run on electric vehicles powered by clean energy with tax credits to help American families winterize their homes and use less energy, that will help. And if we do what we can, it will mean that no one has to worry about the price of the gas pump in the future. That'll mean tyrants like Putin won't be able to use fossil fuels as weapons against other nations. And it will make America a world leader, manufacturing and exporting clean energy technologies of the future to countries all around the world. This is the goal we should be racing toward. Over the last 2 weeks, Ukrainian people have inspired the world, and I mean that in a literal sense. They've inspired the world with their bravery, their patriotism, their defiant determination to live free. Putin's war has caused enormous suffering and needless loss of life of women, children, everyone in Ukraine. Both Ukraine and, I might add, Russians. Ukrainian leaders, as well as leaders around the world, have repeatedly called for a ceasefire, for humanitarian relief, for real diplomacy. But Putin seems determined to continue on his murderous path, no matter the cost. Putin's now targeting cities and has been targeting cities and civilians, schools, hospitals, apartment buildings. Last week, he attacked the largest nuclear power plant in Europe with an apparent disregard for the potential of triggering a nuclear meltdown. He has already turned 2 million Ukrainians into refugees. Russia may continue to grind out its advance at a horrible price, but this much is already clear. Ukraine will never be a victory for Putin. Putin may be able to take a city, but he'll never be able to hold the country. And if we do not respond to Putin's assault on global peace and stability today, the cost of freedom and to the American people will be even greater tomorrow. So we're going to continue to support the brave Ukrainian people as they fight for their country. And I call on Congress to pass the $12 billion Ukraine assistance package that I have asked them for of late. Ukrainian people are demonstrating by their physical courage that they are not about to just let Putin take what he wants. That's clear. Mm-hmm. They'll defend their freedom, their democracy, their lives. And we're going to keep providing security assistance, economic assistance, and humanitarian assistance. We're going to support them against tyranny, oppression, violent acts of subjugation. People everywhere, and I think it's maybe even surprised some of you all, people everywhere are speaking up for freedom. When the history of this war is written, Putin's war on Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. May God bless all those heroes in Ukraine. And now I'm off to Texas. Thank you very, very much. I know there's a lot of I know there's a lot of questions, but there's a lot more that has to be made clear, and I'm going to hold on that until we get more information. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, what do you guys think? I mean, we got some crazy shit going on in the comments section. You guys are all over the place. I know we got Squirrely Crypto over here wants Russia to start putting its gold on a decentralized exchange and then selling it as an NFT to China and then turning it back into oil NFTs, some crazy shit like that. We've got a whole lot going on here. All right, so oil is pumping up a little bit. What else we got? Oil pumping a little bit. Stocks are going back down. NASDAQ definitely going back down. All right, let's look at oil. You know, I expected oil to pump further than this. It really hasn't gone up that much. It's gone up a little bit. I think a lot of this must have been already priced in. There was somebody in here saying that prior. It must be priced in already. I think that may be the case. I think we have to see what Europe is going to do first. What else we got here? All right, let's see. Gavin says Biden is blaming gas prices on Putin when gas was up before Putin attacked. Well, that's just demand rising. It's no question about that. Oil to the moon, oil. Maybe he's long Chevron. I mean, it's possible that his blind trust probably has a lot of oil exposure to it. All right. Groximus Rex says he just got a windfall of about 50,000. He wants to know where to put it. He's scared of the incoming inflation. What should he do to sidestep inflation? There's really not a whole lot you're going to be able to do to sidestep inflation except, what, go short bonds? I don't know. Inflation's hitting everybody. If you want to minimize the effects of inflation, then you could start putting that into some funds that are going to handle the correction pretty well. I'm thinking, I don't know if SPHD is even going to show up here, but I like, right now, these they're not going to see. I like these nice, stable funds that are paying their dividends. They're doing exactly what they're expected to do. Moderately attractive. Like, these are the types of things. There's a flat dividend, flat stock. Putting money into something like this is going to guarantee you some yield income, but it's not going to take away the effects of inflation. Your money is still going to be worth less at the end of it. With $50,000, you'd get, if you've never traded stocks before especially, get yourself a nice balanced portfolio, buy some growth, buy some dividend. You have nothing to worry about. A $50,000 investment should be enough to get you started. Or if you haven't bought a house yet, buy a house with it. That'd be my recommendation. But as far as, you know, what Biden is saying, I actually do believe a lot of what he says. I'm not a huge fan of Biden. I think he's kind of let us down in a lot of ways that I expected him to succeed at. Like legalizing weed, just didn't do it. Could have been done on day one, didn't do it. I think I have mixed feelings about the way he's handling this. I think this being, you know, the whole Russia debacle. I think in general, what he said there is accurate information. We have enough oil in the United States. And I was saying that this morning when we first started the stream. We have enough oil in the U.S. We can produce more oil further. And it's not going to have a huge impact when we actually ban the Russian oil. I'm glad that he said that he realizes Europe might not be able to follow us into this because they need it. They need the Russian oil. I think that was really important that he noted that, because this might just be a United States going alone thing. I don't think there's too many European countries that can afford to box themselves out of Russian oil. But that was good. What else? All right, some of you guys have been asking about the quant. So if you want the quant yourself, you can get it 50% off. My link's in the description. So I'm an affiliate of Seeking Alpha. That's why I have their premium account. But you can get it. It's pretty cheap. Check for it in I can't copy and paste the link here because it's too long. But you can check it in the description. You'll get a 50% off discount. Quant doesn't really like Baba. I don't really like Baba either. It's not going to be able to compete with the US version of it, Amazon. What else you guys want to see there? I don't know. What do you guys think of student loan forgiveness? I don't think forgiveness is the right way to approach it. I think we should be canceling the interest on it. And anybody who's already paid their loans should be getting a tax credit for the interest that they paid. I think that's the way to go. I don't want to just forgive all the loans, because then people like me who paid off their loans are left with nothing, versus the people who still have loans but they bought a house instead of paying down their debt. They're all of a sudden in a better situation than I am, even though I did everything I was supposed to do. So, all right, what else we got here? Losing money on Baba, not going to happen. Neo. Somebody wants to check Neo. Check Neo on the quant. Neo is, this is a strong sell. It's been a strong sell for a while, according to the quant. I remember this when this thing was shooting up. Yeah, there it is. Went up from $10 to $57. Yeah, now it's on the way back down. It looks like it's just going to keep going. All right, we'll do a couple more of these. NOU.V. What the hell is that? NOU. You mean this? Nuvo Life Sciences. All right, we'll do. There's no ratings for this because it's traded for less than 1 year, has no analyst coverage, and is a closed-end fund or mortgage REIT. Who the hell wants to buy this, man? Don't buy that. It's ridiculous. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do PayPal because I think PayPal and Facebook are pretty undervalued too right now. The sell-off has been way too harsh on these stocks. PayPal is down 60%. Like here, let's look at TradingView, and this is why I think PayPal is undervalued right now. The sell-off is way too high. All right, let's zoom out. Okay, it's now at 2020 prices. So earnings last quarter, reported estimate. All right, so $1.11. What was it earning back here? 83 cents. So it's actually less than I thought it was going to be. All right, but it's predicted 88 cents. Down here, 65. So, I mean, the company is at least 50% larger than it was in 2019. I thought it was going to be more earnings than that, but it's still about 50% larger, and yet it's trading at the same price as it was back then. So I'm thinking that PayPal is undervalued compared to what it typically is historically. That would imply that everybody's expecting it to melt off even further. It's just going to have less use, less earnings. I don't see that happening. I think a lot of people that started using PayPal during the pandemic are going to continue using it. I use PayPal now. I used to not use PayPal. Now I do, and I'm going to keep using it. So I think PayPal I don't think there's any question. It's undervalued compared to what it's historically been valued at. But are people right for expecting that it's going to decrease to those types of numbers again, where it's going to go from earning $1.11 back to earning 86 cents or 78 cents? Because that's what the stock is priced at. And I think that's just kind of silly. All right, and then we'll do, you guys are just spitting tickers at me right now. I'll do Facebook because I wanted to see them too. All right, we're doing Facebook. And I think it's probably the same deal on Facebook too. Let's check them out. According to the quant, what did I just do? Meta now, it's not Facebook anymore, that's right. But if you look at the quant ratings for it, quant has stopped calling it a buy sometime in very early 2022. Quant thought it was a strong buy at 237, but of course it's continued down. So now it's not giving us that flashing buy signal yet. But same deal with PayPal as with Facebook. All right, the company, what did it earn? It earned $3.67. All right, it's been knocked down to, where are we at? Can't even tell what we're looking at. Oh, we're down here. That's why. I didn't even look at the gap. I was like, that don't sound right. All right, so it's at about 190 right now. It last earned $3.67. Last time the stock was down here, it was early 2020 when it was earning $1.71 versus now $3.67. So the company is twice as large as it was in very early 2020, 2 years ago. It's twice as large as it now as it was 2 years ago, but the stock price is the same. So it's trading at a very cheap multiple compared to what it historically does. So the company reported $33 billion of revenue versus last time it was down here, $17 billion. So like double. It's way cheaper than it's historically been priced at. So I think Facebook is a screaming buy. Definitely. PayPal, big buy. If it even got to trading to what it normally was trading at, it should still be up in the 300s. So I wouldn't be worried at all if you're a Facebook long-term holder. Just hang on to it. This is way overdone. I don't doubt that at all. And then we'll look at American Airlines. Because I know one of the people I used to work with, he used to buy American Airlines with every single paycheck he had. He would just buy more American. And it's just been going down all year, which sucks. And now it's really tanking. It's at 12. God, that's crazy. But the quant says it's a hold. It's not great. A hold means stop buying it. But let's look at its earnings. All right, it lost $1.44. Last time it was at this price was in 2013, where it was making money. So the company, American Airlines, is actually in a worse position than it was last time it was at the stock price. So this is an example where it makes sense that the stock is going down, because it's earning less money. Whereas with Facebook, that does not make sense, because the company is earning more money than it did last time it was at this price. So that's the difference there. And airlines are a terrible investment, that's what it says. Chewy13 says Joe Biden lied and said He did not interfere with Hunter Biden in his Ukraine deals with when Joe was vice president. He got state prosecutor fired. I don't know. I keep seeing like that 5-second soundbite. I'd be interested in knowing the rest of that conversation. I think it's pretty unlikely that Joe Biden is instigating the war against Ukraine in order to prevent investigations into Hunter Biden, but that's just me. Is there a filter on the quant so it only shows strong buys? I think there is. I think if we could just go to like top rated stocks. I think I accidentally clicked it before. Top rated. I think this will give us the quant. Yeah. So here's what the quant considers the best stocks right now. VET. Let's look at some of these. What is VET? I've never heard of that one before. What is the top stock right now according to the quant? VET absolutely loves this stock. Vermilion Energy. So all right, that makes sense. All right, we all know PBR. Petróleo Brasileiro. But PBR is at risk of cutting its dividend. We got to keep that in mind. But it's up big this year. It's good. It's up 21%. Let's see. Yeah, take a screenshot if you guys want. This is the top ones right now. It looks like a whole bunch of energy and then some transportation tucked in here. These are all screaming buys. Ford, very popular one. Build-A-Bear Workshop. That one's on there too. Kind of snuck in there. Nvidia, SoFi. What else we got here? Yeah. So these are all the top ones right now. So yes, you can do that. I think this is probably only for the premium, seeking alpha premium people though. Otherwise, you wouldn't get access to the quant at all. So the quant is just for the premiums. Like I said, you guys can get that in my. There's a link in the description there. It'll give you 50% off. And if you sign up, it'll give me $180 too, which I appreciate. I would appreciate that. All right. Is it too late to buy oil? Actually, I don't think so. So while Joe Biden was talking, I bought more shares of Chevron. Looks like I'm doing all right. Yeah. So I bought more shares of Chevron. I think oil is still going to go higher. There's really no reason to believe that it would go down right now. So I think oil, it is not too late to buy into oil. What is oil doing? Let's see. Now that I kind of know how to use this website. Oil 128. So it hasn't really gone up that much. I think a lot of that was priced in. If any European country comes out and says that they're banning Russian oil, I think that'll be a much bigger impact than this. All right, we still need to do the sponsored segment today. Do you guys want to see somebody make art with a wheelchair and then sign it with a dog footprint? Let me know if you want to start doing that. We're going to do it at some point. All right, Andrew Manning says, Mikey, can you look at Amazon or Google? I will look at Amazon just for you. We can look at dogs do art for the sponsored segment whenever we need to. And a guy, Amazon, okay. The ratings on Amazon. Bot gameplay, the one for this is seekingalpha.com. You can get there in my description. It'll give you cheaper access to it. All right, so Amazon has been a hold for a while now. Let's see. Is the quant not working here? Because it's the quant started coverage in 2021 and it's been a hold the entire time. I think it's probably a big miss right now. Is it because its earnings are still so low compared to what? Oh, not the Seeking Alpha, the one with the chart. This is tradingview.com. All right, sounds like some of you guys are prepared to see the sponsored segment. So we're going to watch somebody. They are an artist. They've been paralyzed for life, but they have found a way to do art using their wheelchair, and he gets dogs involved too. So he's, found a way to make things work for him. I think it's pretty cool. We're going to see that. He's selling artwork now by cutting it into, I think, 10,000 pieces. The largest artwork he's ever produced. So let's do that one. All right, large user Facebook. Okay. Hey, dog, stop growling. My dog's growling. All right, so let's look. All right, so this artist here, his name is Tommy. This is a sponsored segment, by the way. We'll turn it down a little bit. All right, so here's his staff. They're working together. They're going to build a 400 by 400 foot piece of art. He's going to use his wheelchair to do what he is. See, there he is. Here is Tommy. And he's going to do this. And then he's going to have dogs run across it, footprints. And he's going to have, I think the only living member of the Beatles left is Ringo Starr. Let's skip ahead a little bit. He's got Ringo Starr coming through to autograph it. Now, you guys know that I think there is a case use out there for NFTs. Now, what they're doing is they're cutting their artwork, physical artwork, into 10,000 pieces, and then they're going to sell each piece as an NFT that you can then cash in to receive the physical artwork. So I think that that's probably one of the better use cases of an NFT I've heard, where you can actually cash it in as a voucher in order to get a physical item for it. I think that makes a lot more sense than selling these JPG art of like, you know, a fumbling horse NFT or like a grumpy wolf, you know, some stupid things like that. So let's skip ahead. Let's watch him actually do it. He's probably going to actually mix it in here somewhere. They're still mixing paint. Let's try another video. There was one here where they had the dogs running around, but let's see what he's got. I didn't screen these in advance to see which ones I wanted to play, but there's a long one, 22 megabytes. So let's watch this one. So here he is. Here's his dog with him. He's got his dog, walks around on it, and he's riding his wheelchair around it. Art aside, you know, skip the art. But think about the use case that they're presenting here for how you could buy an NFT and then cash it in for actual wall art. It's fine art, so it's probably not actually going to look very good. But what he's producing here, cut into 10,000 pieces, I think the token, the NFT itself, is going to end up being worth a lot more than the actual artwork. I think people that don't cash in their NFTs are probably going to have more. And they're going to have to store the rest of these. I want to see if I can get the one with his dog on it too. But I think I clicked on that one already. We'll look at one more video here. All right, so here we're getting the dog involved. Yeah, so it's artwork is what it is. Yeah, so yeah, dog painting. That's what you get. I mean, like I said, it's fine art, so the idea isn't that it looks good. The idea is that it has some kind of story behind it. And I just posted the link there. That's his official Twitter. You can find it in there. I think there is room, you know, artwork aside. Ignore the artwork. Ignore even the story. I think we need a serious case use for NFTs. Otherwise, they're just useless. And I think what they're doing by linking it to a physical item, I think that actually makes more sense. Now, people are free to trade something amongst each other without actually having it with them. But whenever somebody wants to, they can cash it in for an NFT. So S3 says the problem is liquidity. Who's buying that with no intent to cash it in? Speculators. That's who's be buying it. The same people that buy every NFT. Speculators. People that actually want the artwork because they think that this Tommy guy is, you know, it's an interesting artist, it's a good story. They can cash it in and get their actual artwork for it. The people that want to speculate on the NFT can buy it without cashing it in. I think that'll actually be worth more. Yeah, and Fubar says that the square with the dog in it is actually going to be worth so much more than the rest, and I think that's probably true as well. There's also Ringo Starr is in one of these videos. I think I already looked at that one. Ringo Starr is in one of these. He's going to end up signing an autograph on some of it. Is Paul McCartney dead? How many of them are alive? Is Paul McCartney still alive? I don't know. So here he is. He's been paralyzed since birth, but aspired to be an artist and found a way to do it. I mean, he's got an entire staff here helping him. But I mean, honestly, this is better than some actual fine art I've seen. So I'm not hating on the art. But I think the real value here is going to be the speculators that pick up the NFTs and then don't sell them, or don't cash them in, rather. I think that'll be worth a lot. And then there's going to be somebody out there who actually wants to cash in their NFT and get artwork. That is such a better use case than like get access to our exclusive Discord when you buy a $2,000 NFT. I think that's just ridiculous. So we're merging into a good use case, I think. I linked his Twitter there. I'll briefly, whoops, or I'll pin it, and you can find his Twitter. This is where they're going to start making the is where they're going to start putting out the information. So there you go. You have it. Let me see if there's anything else on here. Here, Alpha GG. Let me get, okay. And here, I'm going to put his website up there too. It's worth checking out, even if you're not, like, whether we like it or not, NFTs are going to be part of our life. So I'll pin his comment, or pin his website. Whether we like it or not, NFTs are going to exist. They're going to be part of our world. And things like this, I think we're getting closer to that real valuable use case. So his website's there. You can take a look and see what, see if you dig what he's into. I mean, I don't know what they're pricing these at, but I think this NFT is going to be worth more than the actual art. It might be worth picking up a shot. Depends on what they price it at. I'm not going to drop $2,000 on an NFT, but if it's a reasonable price, I might take a look at it. All right, I think that is all I wanted to share on this this individual here. He's got his TikTok too. If you guys are on TikTok, let me take a look at it. All right. All right, so let's return to the market here. If I were to buy one of these NFTs and I were to cash it in, I hope I get the one with the dog print on it, or one of the signatures. All right, we could look at let's see, what do we got going on in the market? I am prepared to lose money today. All right, so here's what I did. I am now, let's open up Robinhood again. All right, let's see, there's some comments rolling in. Do I have any NFTs? Actually, I do. Let's see if I can pull them up. I haven't extended. They're all useless though. They're like worth $0. So I do have some NFTs, but they suck. They were just like those JPG things. It's like a picture of a whale, and it's like $200 when you sell it first, and then now it's worth like $1. So but there's no use case. What I've learned is that when it comes to NFTs, everybody who's selling NFTs is probably like 90% of them are lying to you about what they intend to do with it. And then another 9%, they actually have good intentions, but they don't actually know what they're doing, so they just suck at it. Like I've been doing focus groups on userinterviews.com. And actually, no matter if I'll come back to that. On user interviews, there's a whole bunch of companies right now that want to sell NFTs. And they're all like, hey, how do we sell you JPG of Taylor Swift? And I'm like, well, what does it do? It doesn't do anything. I need a JPEG that's actually going to, once I own it, I can actually do something with it. They allow me to access some certain group. Can I get tickets to a baseball game by buying a New York Mets NFT? And those are probably pretty cheap NFTs because the Mets aren't very good. Can I buy one of those and it acts as a season ticket? Because now we have a reason for people to buy NFTs. Right now, these pictures of a dog, that's not an NFT, that's not doing anything for me. I can just right-click save and it's the same thing. We need a case use behind it. Some of those cheap ones that didn't do anything are what I own. Sometimes I got it as like part of a sponsorship, but they're all entirely useless. But I have made NFTs, and I asked somebody like, why did you buy my NFT? Because I want to sell more of these things. And they're like, well, I'm just speculating that if you ever become like a real big YouTuber like PewDiePie, this will be worth something. So I think he's dreaming a little bit, but speculating. That's really the reason that people buy NFTs mostly. Gunnar says, what's the difference between Seeking Alpha Pro and Premium? I think Pro manages more of your holdings for you. I think Pro actually, like, you enter what you want to do and it'll like give you best timing and options for when to sell. It'll give you indications of when you buy and sell. I don't think Premium does that, but Pro can. Pro is a lot more expensive though. I think it's more than twice the price. Premium is what I have, and I'm happy with Premium. I haven't tried Pro yet. I could ask about like, if you guys are actually interested in Seeking Alpha, I could probably get one of those people to come on to a live stream and talk about some of the features, but only if people really want to do that, because this time is valuable. Let me see. At least they were honest. All right. Silencioso says, NFTs that are popular now, JPEG, OpenSea, are useless no matter what legislation you try to pass. Yeah, I think NFTs, they have a long way to go before they're actually useful. But I think we are going to get there at some point. All right, my wife called me. I hear the baby screaming. I'll come back to her. All right. Anyway. What else we got here? In the current... Prajwal says, in the current market scenario, do you think ratio spreads are better than actively managing strangles? Fuck if I know, dude. I've never really done a ratio spread, but yeah, you could probably get a little bit more of a bearish skew and you'd be all right. I think that's probably the better way to go. Oh, look at that. The market's actually kind of bouncing back a little bit. We're flat for the day. All right, Dow Jones is up. Okay. Ru2D2 wants a Seeking Alpha quant trade portfolio challenge. Yeah, I've used Seeking Alpha before when I do the 3K challenge, but I've only done like 2 episodes since I've had this. So I haven't exactly used it a lot. But I'll tell you what they hate. The quant really, really hates anything crypto mining related. It thinks that it is like all these crypto miners are totally overvalued compared to what they're actually able to mine. It always says you'd be better off just buying the coin yourself instead of buying the miner. And I don't know if that's quite true because I think there's going to be a lot of momentum and speculation on this. I think, you'll see cryptocurrency go up. Like you'll see Bitcoin go up 2x and meanwhile the miners go up 6x. So I think there's some speculative factor involved here. There's more than, you're not buying Riot blockchain because you want them to mine Bitcoin. You're buying Riot blockchain because you want the stock price to go up. So what I'm doing now with Bitfarms has not been successful. I've been selling covered calls at the $5 strike, and it's been working out like shit so far. So I'm not exactly optimistic, but my 3K challenge portfolio has really taken a hit. I need RSX to stop being halted and go up again. I need Snapchat to stop trading poorly. And I mean, ET is doing fine, but the airlines are sucking. I've had this iPod position. This is one of Chamath's SPACs. It was trading for $10, but I think I bought this one at much more. I bought it at 13. So I bought it like here in December of 2020. The thing shot up. I didn't sell. Now it's way back down here at its net asset value. I don't know what's going on with Chamath SPACs, but that was probably one of the worst investments I've made. What else we got? Coinbase, shitty investment. Look at this one. So when Sam Kling, the guy's name was Sam Kling, he won the 3K challenge vote twice in a row. I didn't really want to trade NEO like he recommended, like he voted for. So instead I bought 1/10 of a share of ticker SAM, which is the Boston Beer Company, because Sam Kling won the vote. I bought it here. I bought at the very, very peak. And now it's down 71%. So I'm glad I only bought 1/10 of a share. Because if I had bought an entire share, I would be absolutely devastated. But this one is, ugh. I mean, I didn't really pick it myself. I just did it because Sam Kling won. But, dog, I traded. This is bad pickup. All right, we'll do a couple more minutes here, and then I got to get running because it's lunchtime for my daughter, and I got to cook for her. So let's see though. Riot RSX to go up. No, I bet RSX to go down, not up. All right, some bot gameplay here is balls deep in Satch. He says, Satch. Hey, somebody let me know. Can you guys see the link to Seeking Alpha? Because a lot of you guys are asking about Seeking Alpha. If you want to get access to Seeking Alpha Premium, you can get it through my link in the description, but I want to make sure that you guys can actually see that. I can't paste it here because the link is actually too long. But if you can actually, matter of fact, let me see if I can. No, I need RSX to be unhalted and go down. All right, I think that link will work. You guys let me know if that'll actually get you there. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to pin that link. You guys can get to it, because a lot of you guys are asking about it, so I'll shamelessly pump up my Seeking Alpha affiliation. But all right, so Satch right now, why are you balls deep in Satch? It's just a stock. All right, we'll look at one more because I want to end this on a good note. Now, I need RSX to be unhalted and continue going down because I have a put on it. I don't think there's any reason why I would go up. Am I going to get a rating on this? I don't think so because it's an international ETF. I mean, God, look at that. Imagine if you're doing the right thing, you're a Russian, you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and you've been investing your entire life. You're starting to finally make some money in late 2021, and then the whole thing just tanks back to the lowest it's ever been. Like, you just lost all your money by investing there. So. Ugh, silly. But all right, I could just leave this on for a little bit if you guys want me to. I'll just leave up like TradingView or something, or leave up a video, I guess. I don't know. Do you guys want me to do that? And I'll just come back to this later. But I need to go feed my child. You guys want to watch short put defense on Seeking Alpha while I go and feed my child? Or you want to see Bloomberg quick take? You guys let me know. I'll put one of these on, and then I'll come back in a little bit and we'll see. Oh, what is Robinhood doing? I'm actually really interested in Hood as well. $11. Thing's trading like a SPAC. That's crazy. I mean, I think this is probably undervalued, but I have no interest in actually buying it. Rutu D2 says, if he has 100 shares and then buys a leap and then sells the nearest 16 delta covered call to collect premium, is that what you would call a diagonal spread? I just call that a covered call with a leap. I'd treat them as two different things. You guys want Encanto, you guys want Tasty Trade, put videos of the artist. I can't do that because the videos aren't long enough. I don't know. Is there like a 20-minute video on here I could put on? You guys probably don't want to see like a guy doing that for that long though, do you? I mean, I can certainly do that if you want. But I don't think we have... I'll get demonetized if I put Encanto on otherwise. Otherwise I would. Here, let's do the largest file size. Let's see, this one is a minute and a half. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I can't put up the videos of the artist. But let's you guys let me know. Encanto. What do I do? I love what you do. Tasty. All right, I'll put just tell me Tasty or Bloomberg. I'll put Tasty on. I'll just run that one and I'll feed my child and I'll come back to you guys.
129.44. We're down here at 127, so a little bit off the highs. Got as low as 117. I mean, nothing like a little $12 or $13 intraday range in oil. I mean, it's flying around like a penny stock now. It's crazy. Yeah. You got volatility down 66 cents. It was higher from the open, so we opened at 32.9. We got as high as 33.8, so it was up about a buck. Or a point, I should say, not a dollar, because you can't really trade it. It's up a point. We're a little bit lower from there, so volatility coming out a little bit here on the rally. We got bonds down 2 full points, so that's exactly what I was thinking. With the Russell up 33, you probably see a little bit of a bid in the banks. Banks are interest rate sensitive. You probably have interest rates going up, bonds going down, all those things kind of happening in tandem here. Gold skyrocketing. I saw it was up like 30 or 40 when we opened this morning. It opened basically at 2,000 right on the dot. We're sitting at 2,075-ish right now, up almost $80, 4% in gold. That's pretty insane. And then silver up $1.72. That's a massive move in silver as well, almost 7%. And then Bitcoin's up $1,000. What the hell is going on? What is happening?
The big gold surge is interesting because silver is really not following suit. I have a long silver
in the same amount. I mean, it's following suit. It's just a little bit of a lag here. Right. It has more to make up. I mean, silver is typically more volatile than gold, but in terms of like reaching highs, silver is definitely lagging a little bit behind.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I look to my right to look at the YouTube chat, and I look to my left, and the E-minis are up 10 more points in 10 seconds.
They're moving a mile a minute.
Right now. But yeah, again, not surprising to see some two-sided action here with the VIX futures in backwardation, VIX futures above 30. We're back.
I just pulled up the 1 minute chart here on the E-minis. You can take a look at that beauty.
That's a nice little buy button slam.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I mean, the scale doesn't do it justice here. I mean, that's a 60-point face ripper in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. My portfolio is pretty green today. Only 2 products, DraftKings and US Steel, down just a tiny bit. Everything else is green. So could be a big green day. But who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us on YouTube. If you're on Tasty Trade, you can head over to the YouTube channel if you have any questions or comments live. You can use the YouTube chat on the right side of the video player to do that. But we see the market selling off. We saw a lot of short put questions a couple days ago. We're getting a lot of short put emails. So I decided to just pull some infographics, or not infographics, but slides from the presentation that I did. It's actually pinned to my Twitter profile if you want a more in-depth walkthrough of short put defense and really everything you need to know about short puts and short put defense. My Twitter handle is @TastyTriggerMike there. It's the first pinned tweet. But
you didn't want to pin anything that I was in with you.
I mean, I will.
Pretty sad.
For sure.
Pretty
I
sad.
will.
I feel that. I feel that deep in my heart.
But, you know, a production like that in Lincoln Hall, one of the more popular places in Chicago to see concert, or at least back in the day. But now, you know, with the masks lifted, we're good to go there.
Yeah, we're free. COVID's gone.
Yeah,
only took about a week.
30. Again, every 30 seconds, it's another 10 points. But
what's happening? There's got to be some sort of news out, something.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, let's get into it, and then we'll get to the questions. I see a lot pouring in about short puts already, but let's just walk through these 2 images here, because I think there's something to be said about understanding what you're doing with short puts and what you're trying to manage or defend with short puts. So yeah, short put defense, rolling down and out. This is, again, the segment that I did for the last trade talk we did on Tasty Trade. So see a lot of questions about, like, if a short put goes in the money, you're at risk of
Okay. Yeah, yikes. All right. So, guys, I am here. My child is with me, but she's having a very rough day, so I don't think I'm going to come back to this. Just I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to cut the stream now. Let me, before I go, for anybody that's actually watching this, I'll just paste the link. Yeah, I know. You're having a hard day, huh? All right. Yeah, I'll just pop that in there. And if you guys want to jump over to Tasty, that's where it is. So, all right. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.